usual, is James Hinchcliffe. James, we've already had plenty of action this weekend, and Dan Clark has been banished to the sidelines.
He certainly has, Jeremy, and all the drama began starting Friday morning's practice session, where 4-car pileup, including local hero Jan Halen, as you see at the top of your screen, occurred on the outlap. Now, race director Tony Cotman lays blame for this crash squarely at the feet of Dan Clark. And we're going to go now to Bill Stevens, who is standing by with the race director, Tony Cotman, with his thoughts on the accident.
In fact, Rick, you'll remember that 2 races ago in San Jose, Dan Clark was put on probation after driving into the back of Justin Wilson during a yellow caution period. I'm with Tony Cotman right now. Tony, you've reviewed the incident. What was your decision?
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things that Dan was on probation, obviously, and really didn't leave me a lot of options to what we could do. So I suspended him for this event, and all going well. We'll see him back next race.
All right, we should have a decision on Friday, Rick.
All right,
Yeah,
Bill, well,
so
this is not the
first. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. So certainly suspended for this race, may be back at TT Circuit Assen in 1 week's time. Let's have a look at some of the incidents that Dan Clark has been involved in this year. It really started out at Portland. He was involved in an incident with Graham Rahal. Look at this, on the back straight, puts him onto the grass at 165 miles an hour. Graham Rahal was not impressed. In San Jose, oh, he took out the race leader, Justin Wilson, and that was under yellow flag. And then a couple of laps later, he came in for a new nose and took it off again promptly at the restart. And then last time out at Road America, he had passed Robert Dormos, his Minardi Team USA teammate, who's going for the championship. And let's have a look now with what Dan Clark thinks about the penalty.
Tony's decision, and I'm just looking at it all from the bigger picture, much like Tony is as well. So I don't feel anything negative towards that at all, and I can't wait for the next race.
Well, the good news for Dan, at least he acknowledges his mistake there, and he will be sitting out this afternoon. He's going to, we believe, sit in with race control for a while. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium. Sebastian Bourdais, the 30th pole of his career, his 5th this year. Will Power, his 7th run front row start for Team Australia. He was quickest on Friday. Robert Dornbos, he was 2nd fastest yesterday, 3rd quickest overall. He missed the Friday session because of a blown engine. Bruno Junqueira, an excellent run for Dale Coyne Racing.
Inside of the 3rd row, Justin Wilson, the only man to qualify in the top 10 in every race so far this season, and Canadian Alex Tagliani for the newly renamed Rocket Sports team. Down to the 4th row, Paul Tracy showing a little bit better form with Foresight Championship Racing, and Simone Pagenaud, who was quickest in this morning's warm-up.
Neil Jarni will start on row 5 alongside Oriol Servio, who admitted yesterday he just didn't get a good lap together in that final qualifying session. Row 6 of the grid, Jan Halen, he sat out all of Friday after his car was being repaired after the incident on the outlap on Friday morning.
7th row, Graham Rahal, quick all weekend, made a mistake in qualifying. Catherine Legg, a little bit better form from her in the Dale Coyne Racing car. Down to the 8th row, Tristan Gomini really struggling for PKV Racing here this weekend. Ryan Dial in the Pacific Motorsports Racing injury.
And rounding out the field will be Alex Figge in the 2nd of the PCM cars. And as I was just trying to say there, that sitting in for Dan Clark in that number 4 Minardi Team USA car will be Mario Dominguez. It's the 4th different team he's driven for this year. So super sub, it seems, for Mario Dominguez, and qualified 12th in a very closely packed field is a pretty good effort. From 2nd to 16th on the grid in qualifying, covered by less than 1 second. We're going to get ready for the start. It'll be a standing start, of course, in the Champ Car World Series. The lights will come on in sequence. When they go out, then we will be racing. And as you can see, the back of the field beginning now to line up. There goes Alex Figge, pulls into the final position, and in a few seconds now, the light sequence will begin. And then you see the green flag being waved at the back of the field. That gives the race director, Tony Cotman, the signal that everybody is in place for the standing start. Like an excellent start for the poles in the Sebastian Bourdais, and Bruno Junqueira looked like he lost out a little bit there, and perhaps also maybe Robert Dormos made a move into 2nd place ahead of Will Power. Yes, he did, on board here with Will Power. That is Robert Dormos heading through that flat out turn here onto the back straightaway, and leading now down to the first of the chicanes for the first time, and a huge lead for Sebastian Bourdais.
He's really got a good start, a lot of jockeying for position in the back. We saw a few drivers on the cusp with power to pass, heading down that straightaway into turn 5, the first big braking zone. Down the hill now, they're heading into turn 7, on board with Jan Halen.
And Jan Halen, he was very outspoken after that incident on Friday morning in which his car was very badly damaged. And of course the Conquest Racing team, it's just a one-car team this year. It's a local team, effectively. Eric Bachelard is from Belgium, Jan Halen is from Belgium, and they had also high hopes coming into the weekend, but they lost all of Friday, and it was really a very good job by Jan Halen to come back yesterday and make it into the 11th place on a very tightly packed grid.
It was really impressive run for him. Obviously disappointing to lose as much track time as he did, as we ride on board now with Justin Wilson. But like you say, Jeremy, a good comeback for them, and he's just looking for a good, strong race now.
Yeah, he is, and you can see Justin Wilson also has made it ahead of Bruno Junqueira there. Bruno, in qualifying, 4th on the grid for Dale Coyne Racing. That equals the best ever start for Dale Coyne Racing. It was also 4th on the grid for Gualter Salas back at Long Beach in 1998. Dale Coyne, of course, he's been in this championship since 1984, and that again is just his second row start in what is now his 300th race event for Dale Coyne Racing. They had 500 starts because often, of course, they've run 2 cars in a race. Sometimes they haven't, sometimes they've been running as a 1-car entry, but this is the 300th race in which Dale Coyne Racing has been involved in the Champ Car World Series. And Bruno Junqueira has been strong all weekend, and his teammate Catherine Legg, she didn't really get a proper chance to show what she could do in qualifying. She was off, had an incident on Saturday morning, so lost some track time there. And also this morning in the warm-up, she was off the road on the very first lap when a rear wheel fell off her car. So finger trouble there, I believe it was, that caused that problem. On board now, though, with Will Power looking ahead to Robert Dorbos, who is now beginning to put some pressure on Sebastian Bourdais.
He's certainly not letting him get away, Jeremy. He's really enjoyed this track since they got there. All the drivers have. It's been a favorite since Friday morning when they first got to taste the track here at Zolder. It's very smooth, very fast track, very high grit, a little bit of elevation, different mixture of corners. Everybody seems to really enjoy racing here.
Yeah, on board here with Will Power, and coming through turn 2 here. The slower corners on the track, and then 2 very fast corners leading onto the back straight. There is Simon Pagenaud running in 10th place right now. He was very quick in the first day. He was 3rd fastest in Friday qualifying. Again, he's another guy who really didn't get the best out of his car in the final qualifying session, so he started back in the 8th position on the grid, did Simon Pagenaud, and he's lost a couple of positions in the early stages of the race. Coming downhill into the turn 7 chicane. Yeah, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane there, of course, where the great Gilles Villeneuve was killed back in 1982. An abiding memory, unfortunately, for this racetrack at Zolder. It's a great racetrack, though. There is a lot of history here. It's great to see that many of the turn names turns have been named after famous drivers in the past, both in Belgium and from around the world as well. Of course, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Jochen Rindt has his own corner named after him here, as does Jackie Ickx and the great Belgian Lucien Bianchi back from the 1950s. But here we are now with the Champ Car World Series. We've got 4 laps in the books, 3 laps in the books, and it's Sebastian Bourdais who leads by just less than a second over Robert Dorbos. Will Power in 3rd place. Behind Will Power is Justin Wilson, then Bruno Junqueira and Paul Tracy. There is Bruno, and right behind him is Paul Tracy running in 6th place. And Paul Tracy for Forsyth Championship Racing a lot happier with the car this weekend, James.
Certainly, they have been struggling the last few weekends, Jeremy, but they've brought a few new... Oh, as we say it, Paul Tracy runs wide. He's going to fall back. That's Alex Tagliani, and now Neil Johnny also battling, not able to get him there. So if he's falling behind Tagliani, that puts him down to 7th now.
It's been a trying weekend for Paul Tracy. Things started out pretty well on Friday. In fact, at the end of qualifying on Friday, he got on the radio and actually thanked his crew and congratulated them for a great job. There's been so much controversy with that team this year. His crew was so relieved to hear Paul being happy, and then he came out on Saturday and crashed his car into the wall during qualifying and had to repair the car. And so now he's having problems as the race begins.
Thank you, Bill Stevens, pit lane reporter at Zolder this weekend. And there is PT, lost at least 1 position, perhaps 2 there. So again, a replay coming out of turn, very fast corner that is onto the back straight, just ran a little bit wide. There's very little runoff area there. PT actually did a pretty good job to keep it off the wall.
Yeah, he was pretty lucky there because there really is not a lot of room. It's not often you get away with a mistake in that corner.
Yeah, and talking to Sebastian Bourdais this morning, he was telling us that the race right there, there's very little runoff first of all, and if you happen to go over that barrier there, you're into the trees. So he's certainly one of the safety aspects of this race that he's perhaps not particularly happy with, but nevertheless he's running a very good pace at the front of the field. He has set the fastest lap of the race in the early stages as Sebastian Bourdais leads over the hill there, down one more time. It's a great racetrack here, a real challenge for the drivers, and particularly for the engineers as well. As you were saying, James, it's relatively smooth track surface. Certainly one of the engineers was describing them as European bumps, if there are any on this racetrack. It's relatively smooth, and what do you describe as sort of low frequency bumps here? It's not like the harsh bumps we get on the predominantly street circuits we have in North America.
Yes.
Yeah, the European bumps, as he calls them, they tend to form in the brake zones because obviously the car is generating a lot of pressure and a lot of force down the road when they apply the brakes. And like you say, low frequency, spaced out, not that deep, but certainly when you come to the brake zone, actually heading into the first corner here, you can kind of see it. Not from this particular angle maybe, but you can kind of see where it's a little bit darker. You can kind of see there's like little rifts in the road there where the rubber kind of builds up. You can see where the bumps are. So certainly not the sort of thing we're accustomed to at tracks like Houston and some of the other street circuits we race on.
That's exactly right. Here comes Sebastian Bourdais one more time. This McDonald's car has just been absolutely dominant, hasn't it? Sebastian Bourdais just about set as many records as he can. Look at already some dust being thrown out there. There was on the exit of that corner, some gravel being brought onto the track already in this early stages. That, of course, I think it was from Paul Tracy, wasn't it? Yeah, right. As they come over the crest here, downhill one more time. It's Sebastian Bourdais. He's 1 minute 16.626, the best lap so far in this race, about half a second quicker than Robert Dornbos. That was set 2 laps ago at the end of lap 4, and that compares to the pole time by Sebastian Bourdais of 1 minute 12.821. And I think a pretty conservative pace set in the early stages of this race, and that is because a lot of these teams have concerns over their fuel consumption.
They certainly do. It's with the nature of this racetrack, it's very stop and go. You get up to very high speeds on the straightaways, and it's hard on the brakes for corners like 5, like 7, like 10. These and this constant stopping and going, accelerating, decelerating, it consumes a lot more fuel. So guys are really struggling to hit efficient fuel numbers in the first stint here, and I think it's going to be a factor throughout the course of the entire race.
Yeah, it is difficult. Some of the teams in qualifying, we're getting only 1.55 miles to the gallon, and here's a replay of Sebastian Bourdais just getting it all wrong there. I think that was in yesterday's session, I believe. But he was telling us again this morning, you've got to be really careful about these curbs in the chicane. He said he caught a lot of air on a couple of occasions, and that was certainly one of the examples there. We've seen several cars do that during the course of the weekend. Get out of sequence over those curbs here. It's a big high curbs plus the sort of rumble strips on top. You can just see those yellow strips there on top of the regular curbing, and it's those that really do tend to flip the cars up into the air.
They are very harsh, and the cars do not like them at all. Because it's such a fast, smooth racetrack, you're traditionally running a bit of a stiffer setup on these cars, and that means that they're going to be even less compliant over big curves like that. So I think for qualifying, a lot of guys are maybe taking them for a bit of a glory lap, but certainly in the race, it's going to be hard on equipment if you hit them, and very easy to make a mistake. So consensus is they're going to have to kind of steer clear and be a little bit cautious going through some of these corners.
A great onboard shot there from the CCW car of Justin Wilson, running now in 4th place. Right ahead of him, here we are, see the 2 leaders coming down into turn 1. Now we've got 7 laps completed, and into 3rd place there is Will Power, just holding off Justin Wilson and Bruno Junqueira. You can see that Will Power is on the black sidewall tyres, the regular tyres, the standard tyres that Bridgestone provides for the race this year. As usual, 2 compound tyre brought over to Zolder for this weekend. The red sidewall tyres, the option tyres, the alternate tyres I should say, are a slightly softer compound. And interestingly, Will Power used the red tyres on Friday in qualifying, and he used those to excellent effect. He was fast in qualifying on Friday, guaranteed himself a front row starting position for yesterday, and then unusually in the Saturday qualifying period, Will Power went out on the black sidewall tyres, a little bit slower, but looking to maintain, keep some red tyres up his sleeve for today's race, and he will have a brand new set of reds to use later in the event. Still very early stages here in Zolder. You can see the lead between the first and second place cars. The McDonald's machine of Sebastian Bourdais dogging his wheel tracks. Robert Doornbos in second place. Robert Doornbos, well, kind of almost a home race for him. He hails from Holland, just the adjacent country here in the Benelux region, of course, of Europe. And Robert Doornbos, he's been here in the past. He has raced here in a Formula Ford car, actually, way back in 2000 in his first season, full season of car racing. Started off, Robert Doornbos, as a semi-professional tennis player, and it was a visit to the Belgian Grand Prix in 1998. He and his father were guests of the Williams team as he had one more look at that huge airborne moment for Sebastian Bourdais in practice yesterday morning, I believe it was. And you can see he caught a lot of air there. And these cars, these DP01 cars are pretty strong, because that was quite a hit that he took.
Yeah, he just kind of kept on going, but you certainly cannot get away with that too much in a race. But I do expect that things like that are going to happen as this race wears on. The tires sort of wear down out of his thin. It's going to be easy to make a mistake here. And also, with it being such a stop-and-go racetrack, drivers are complaining about the brakes a little bit. You're using the brakes an awful lot here at the Zolder track, and over the course of a race, obviously that'll be the longest they've ever run on a set of pads and discs, and it might start to have issues by the end of the race here. And one of the biggest problems they're having is the rears locking up, and that can sometimes snap the rear end of the car out, which is what we saw happen to Sebastian Bourdais in that clip. You end up driving over the second curb there in those chicanes. So it's a bit of a tricky situation potentially later in this race.
On board here with Will Power through the turn. Relatively tight to turn one there, James.
Still very quick though. This is turn 2 now for a third gear corner. Accelerate up flat out through turn 3. Very fast section of the racetrack, slightly banked. This is the quickest corner on the racetrack. Turn 4, 5th gear, very, very quick. As you can see, not a lot of runoff on the exit there. So now we're rocketing down the back straight. First hard brake zone into the turn 5 chicane. You can see Will being relatively aggressive with those curbs. He's trying to keep his pace up over the hill, down now into turn 7, another hard braking zone. And this is, I think, this is the second slowest chicane on the track. The only slower corner being the 10th turn. It's, like I say, it's very stop and go, high speed, low speed. It's a very good mixture of corners here.
Certainly is. Great on-board shot here again from the rear wing of Justin Wilson's CDW car. It's running, but once again under the Roo Sport umbrella this weekend. Paul Gentilozzi and Dan Pettit pooling their resources in terms of technical information this year, but now once again going under their separate team names, Roo Sports and Rocket Sports. James, let's have a look at Circuit Zolder.
So this is the track, as you can see, and we just took you through the first 4 or 5 corners anyway, and that's that first chicane there, the second one through 7. Some of the biggest curbs are in that one. You've got to be very careful through there. Mistakes will definitely be costly. Through turn 8, very tricky corner as well, and then 9's a flat-out kink into turn 10. Again, hard braking, probably the best opportunity for a pass is heading into 10. Then you come rocketing out of 10, and it's just a little chicane back onto the front straight. So a lot of transitions here as well, left to right. You really have to make sure that the setup is spot on to get a good lap time around here.
Almost a European style of racetrack, but similar to anywhere that we've raced on this year already in the Champ Car World Series, James?
Not really. I mean,
Tremblant, perhaps?
A little bit like Tremblant. In fact, it kind of reminds me more of the old Montreal track that we raced on, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, with the chicanes, the long straights, and the heavy brake zones. But it's a little bit narrower, a little bit tougher to pass than a Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And but like you say, maybe a little bit similar to Tremblant, same sort of feel. Definitely same kind of scenery through the woods there, a bit of elevation. It's a gorgeous backdrop here, and I think not only do the drivers enjoy the track, the atmosphere, the town, and the place they are also is among favorites so far. Yeah, the drivers are very much enjoying being back here in Europe again, the first time since 2003. And Oriol Serviu was telling us yesterday it takes him probably 20 minutes to get into the racetrack and to his transporter, because he's just besieged by autograph seekers. And not only autograph seekers, they want him to sign all sorts of photographs as well. And while a bit of a chore for the drivers, they really do love the attention. And I know the European fans absolutely love the access to get to the Champ Car drivers. A couple of notes here in the early stages. Neil Jarni is
notoriously perhaps one of the drivers who struggles on fuel consumption there is Neil Jani, running in 8th place at the moment, all over the back end of Paul Tracy's car. And PT has said the diff is slipping, so clearly Paul Tracy not happy with the traction he's getting out of his number 3 Forsyth Championship racing car. And a little bit farther back there is Oriol Serbia with the Graphy Print car, the Conquest racing machine of Jan Heylen, moving up right onto his tail. We saw Jan Heylen squeeze past Simon Pagenaud a few laps ago, and also Mario Dominguez followed him through as well. So Pagenaud has certainly been struggling in these early stages.
And it's bizarre, Jeremy, just because he's been actually pretty quick all weekend. He was 3rd quickest in qualifying on Friday, the fastest man in warm-up this morning. So he certainly has a fast car. He's comfortable around here, but like you say, early stage of this race, he's really struggling to come to grips with this car.
To Jan Heylen, they're really doing an excellent job. That whole team there, the Conquest Racing team, they worked, well, not through the night, but until well after midnight on Friday to repair that number 34 car from the damage. We're on board it now with Jan Heylen. Repair the car from the damage caused by that accident on the out lap on Friday morning. Just astonishing. It was, and Jan Heylen is still extremely upset with Dan Clark. And Dan Clark tried to make his apologies to the various drivers involved in that incident. The other ones were Justin Wilson and Paul Tracy. And Justin Wilson, I think, has accepted the apology certainly from Dan Clark, but not Jan Heylen. He was extremely upset, and but Jan Heylen doing an excellent job despite the fact he missed all of Friday's running. He came back strongly on Saturday, and it was 6th quickest in the warm-up as well this morning was Jan Heylen. So he really is giving his hometown fans something to shout about. Very early stages, of course, but Jan Heylen is in 10th place, and he is chasing Oriol Serbia ahead of him. Right behind him also is now Mario Dominguez, and then Simon Pagenaud and Graham Rahal. He's another one who's struggling. You can see Graham in the Medizone car at the back of this pack, or towards the back of this pack. Behind Rahal are Tristan Gomedy and Ryan DL, and then Alex Figge and Catherine Legg rounding out the field. Poor Catherine, nothing seems to be going her way. You can see that she's actually holding on to the back end of this group, so all these cars here from 9th place on back are really running in nose-to-tail formation.
And another thing that's a bit unfortunate is kind of going back to Jan Heylen is the fact that he's coming off his strongest race of the year by far at Road America last time out. So he's been on a bit of a roll. He's had the momentum, he's had the confidence, and then to go out Friday morning on the out lap of practice, be taken out for the entire day, it certainly kind of put a damper on that. But for them to bounce back the way they have, him to be running inside the top 10 right now is just a huge testament to himself and the whole Conquest Racing team.
Yeah, he's run a lot of races in all sorts of different cars at this racetrack in Belgium. Has Jan Heylen raced here in Formula Fords, raced here in touring cars as well. In fact, that's his team owner Eric Bachelard. He won his first race over here in Formula 3 back in the 1980s with Eric Bachelard. In fact, this is the first time he ever drove a race car. Was right here at Zolder in a school car in Formula Ford. So they both have a long history here. Jan Heylen won the 24 Hours in Zolder in a Corvette back in 2005, just a couple of years ago. It was 20 years after Bachelard's first race here. So we really are looking forward to a strong run this weekend. Of course, they've got 2 relatively new sponsors on the car over the last couple of weeks. Graphy Print, as you can see there, and the new green and white colours, and Voxdale too. It's a technology company that's going to give the Conquest Racing team the chance to do some CFD, some computational fluid dynamics simulation work to try and just optimize the setups on this DP01 chassis.
Yeah, it's a good technology. Obviously, it's been adopted in Formula One quite heavily, and a lot of teams use it, and it hopefully will help the Conquest team improve a little bit. We've already seen, as we said, the last few races, their pace pick up quite a bit, so might already be reaping a few rewards. But just from riding on board with Jan there a little bit, it looks like his car's a little bit unsettled over the bumps right now, over some of the curbs. You can see the back end stepping out, him having to correct a little bit. So I don't think he's overly thrilled with his car right now, but he's certainly running well, and he's got a lot of time to move up in his home Grand Prix here in Zolder.
14 laps completed of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium. There is our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. Stretched out the lead just a little bit over the last couple of laps now. I know the teams have been beseeching their drivers over the radios to conserve fuel, conserve fuel. You can reach the finish of this race. If it goes green all the way, it's pretty marginal to be able to do it on 3 pit stops. That is why we've seen in the early stages the teams getting onto the drivers over the radio just to conserve fuel as best you can. We heard a lap or two ago over the radio that the Minardi Team USA boys are telling to Robert Dormus, you're doing a good job on fuel consumption. Same also for this man, Sebastian Bourdais. On board here with Jan Halen. And there in the Minardi Team USA pit is Michael Cannon, the race engineer for all, Robert Dornbos, who's running in second place just now. And the gap from first to second has stretched out to almost 2 seconds now, and from second to third, about 2.5 seconds, James.
Yeah, and it also looks like, as we see some jockeying for position here, that Neil Johnny got by Paul Tracy, so that's for 7th position, relegating Paul back down to 8th. Now Oriol Servia still running 9th, who's just ahead of this train right here. So one pass made on track, sorry we missed that one. And we have a caution on the racetrack, full course caution.
Quite sure why we're under. We believe there might be some curb damage in turn 5, is what you're seeing on the instant messenger system here from race control. So that's not good news. If there's some debris on the track already, or maybe the track is breaking up in some way. Is this turn 5 right here? This is turn 5 right near. So well, there it is. You can see there these yellow rumble strips that have been put in place to try and prevent the drivers from jumping all over those curbs, and it's one of those apparently has come loose, and that of course is a dangerous situation. The pits are currently closed, but when they're open we can certainly expect everybody to come onto the pit lane for service, and we've got 15 laps completed right now, and we think they can probably do 19 or 20 laps under green flag conditions before they need to come in and replenish their supply of methanol on board these cars. 32 gallons of methanol they carry nowadays. It used to be 35 gallons. The fuel tanks on these DP01 chassis just a little bit less. That just means that it perhaps opens up the pit stop windows again, and they will be having pit stops any moment now. So our first full caution of the day here at the Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium. Round 11 of this year's Champ Car World Series, and the first event in the Fanos Cup for the European foray here, this race this weekend, and also 1 week's time we'll have the Bavaria Champ Car Grand Prix of Holland from a TT circuit Assen. Let's have a look at what the Fanos Cup actually represents. It's a combination of points from this race and the race at TT circuit Assen in 1 week's time, and unlike the earlier event that we had in Canada, the Triple Crown up there, we can see that we've already had points awarded now for the Fanos Cup, European Team Cup, actually, Fanos Resorts European Team Cup, and points are awarded in qualifying. And for both days of qualifying for each of the 2 cars, and as we can say, coming into the race therefore, it's Team Australia leads as a result of Will Power taking the provisional pole on Friday, and with Simon Pagenaud in 3rd place on Friday. And in yesterday's qualifying session, Power was 3rd, and Pagenaud was 10th on the grid. I think it was 8th on the grid. Yeah, so they're leading now the team standings after 1 race. Newman, Haas, Lanigan Racing in 2nd place. The fact that Sebastian Bourdais, of course, took his 6th pole position of the season. Graham Rahal struggled in final qualifying yesterday and started way back on the grid, and that was certainly a big surprise because Graham had been quick all the way through the rest of the weekend. Yeah, the pits should be opening up this time around. I think we're going to see wholesale pit stops. Everybody will be coming in right now. They're coming through turn 10, through the Jochen Rindt chicane, down to the Jackie X box, the Jackie X chicane leading onto the start finish straight away, and the cars will peel off here to the right and come onto the pit lane. It's a very long pit lane here and a very narrow pit lane as well. And also, for some reason, or because of the narrow nature of this particular pit lane, as Sebastian Bourdais gets a jump on the field there heading into pit lane, they've actually reduced the speed limit from 50 miles an hour down to 40 miles an hour. So it is now in the hands of the pit crew. This full course caution was welcome to Will Power. He was a few seconds behind the lead group, but he just at the fastest lap of the race, so he certainly got the pace. He's going to enjoy that they're all together now, and it really is down to the pit crews to see who's going to get these cars out in front. And we'll see Bill Stevens is in the Minardi Team USA pit for Robert Dornbos.
This is going to be wild. Track position so important. Let's see who can get in and out of here the quickest. Now with Robert Dornbos taking off the primary tires, going to the reds. The fuel is going in. Let's see if he can get out before Justin Wilson. Wilson is already out, but Dornbos just ahead of him as Will Power sneaks by on the left side.
Great action in the pit, and you can see that Justin Wilson just about just beaten out there by Will Power. So I think no changes there at the front. I think the big loser there, however, appears to be Bruno Junqueira. some problems there for Jan Halen as well.
It seems like he may have lost a few spots there, Jeremy. Graham Rahal still kind of stuck at the back there, wasn't able to make up any positions, but it is this man, Sebastian Bourdais, and his Newman Haas Lanigan Racing crew once again getting the job done in pit lane, getting him out in front, well in front of Robert Dornbosch. Will Power maintain second, Justin Wilson still, Will Power maintains third, Justin Wilson in fourth as well.
Yeah, once again, an excellent stop there for the Newman Haas team. The chief mechanic on that car number 1 is Pedro Campuzani. He does not go over the wall, however. He's smarter than that. It's Norm Hornicek who leads that crew on pit lane. And of the 7 races that Sebastian Bourdais has finished this season, in 5 of those races, his car has spent the least time on pit lane. So that pit crew is absolutely superb. I mean, there's no aspect of this Newman Haas Lanigan team that isn't absolutely spot on the money. Of course, Sebastian Bourdais does a pretty mean job at the wheel of the car, but it really is a teamwork in this whole organisation that pulls everything together. It's not just the talents of Sebastian Bourdais that puts him in a position to win all these races.
It is a pretty vicious combination. Sebastian with the wheel and Newman Haas Lanigan running that car. They're just such an established crew, such a great team. They've done such a good job over the years. You know, Graham Rahal obviously having a good first season. For a rookie to be able to step into a team like that was a remarkable opportunity for Graham, and he's certainly making the most of it, although definitely struggling this afternoon.
Yes. There is Will Power in third place. Behind him is Justin Wilson in the CDW car of the Rousport team. Which said that Paul Gentilozzi and Dan Pettit, the respective team owners, they've been pooling their resources in terms of technical facilities this year, and they've combined their resources also in terms of a name for the first 10 races of the season. They've been going under the R-Sport umbrella thus far this season, but now they've decided to go back to their original names of Rousport for Dan Pettit's team, Justin Wilson, and Rocket Sports Organisation for Alex Tagliani. Here's again a replay of Sebastian Bourdais. Again, exemplary pit work there and a change to that front wing, James.
It looks like they were putting a little bit of front wing into the car, Jeremy, a little bit more front downforce. Now watch this, as the safety car peels off, Sebastian had left himself a bit of a gap, got on the power early and got that 3-4 car length lead over Robert Dornbosch heading into pit lane, and sometimes that could be the difference. That could be all that it would take to make or lose a position. So again, it's another crafty move from Sebastian Bourdais. You can tell this certainly is not his first rodeo. He's done this before, Jeremy.
Yeah, he has done this before, hasn't he? To remarkable effect. And as I said, the big loser is Bruno Junqueira. We've had 27 minutes gone in this race. It is 1 hour 45-minute race, so still 78 minutes to go. Long way to go. And it's certainly this first full course caution of the day, as we've seen Sebastian Bourdais leading from start to finish so far. We'll try to get down to Bill Stevens, who is standing by with Michael Cannon, the race engineer for Robert Dornbosch.
You probably anticipated that maybe Sebastian was going to sprint away at the start. Now, how does the strategy play into what you can do to maybe keep him in sight?
Well, I don't think it was ever his strategy to try and run away. With these timed races, we have no idea how far we need to really go. So everybody's on the same scenario. The car is very, very balanced. Robert was doing a great job on fuel and staying right with him. Now the game's changed. Everybody can burn fuel, so I think the pace will pick up appreciably here.
Might this be a race that's decided in the pits today?
I think potentially more on the track. Everybody will wind up on pretty much the same strategy. Only difference is we've got red tires again. Sebastian's on blacks. Stay tuned.
And they were very pleased with their pit stop a few moments ago.
So there is Robert Dornbosch running in second place behind Sebastian Bourdais. So we've got 18 laps completed in a Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium. A long way still to go. Sun finally coming out here now. We've seen pretty much overcast conditions for the last couple of hours or so. It was nice and sunny this morning, perfect conditions early in the day, and then after the warm-up the cloud cover came in. It was about a 35% chance even of showers this afternoon. Hopefully those won't materialize, and hopefully so far as the Belgian fans are concerned, that certainly might be for an interesting race. The pace car has pulled off the racetrack and we're getting ready to go back to green, and it's Sebastian Bourdais who leads from Robert Dornbosch, Will Power and Justin Wilson, and Bruno Junqueira has fallen all the way back to 15th place after running 4th in the early stages. So again, an excellent restart from our Polson. And there's Paul Tracy looking to the inside of Neil Jarney. He doesn't make that move. It's still Neil Jarney holds on to 6th place.
That was a very tough move to make. It's not a big break zone into one, a very quick corner, but Paul had a good run, was not quite able to pull it off. But like you say, Jeremy, cold tires right now because these guys have all come in for a pit stop. They're running under caution. There's no tire warmers allowed in the Champ Car World Series, so we've got to get these tires back up to temperature. They've now got full fuel loads. This is a very difficult time, but Robert Dornbos is sitting pretty right now as the only driver in the top 3 on the red, the softer sidewall Bridgestone tires, with both Sebastian and Will Power opting for blacks in this 2nd stint.
Yeah, Will Power used, as we said earlier on, he used the black tires in final qualifying yesterday, and Will Power was 3rd quickest overall in the final session yesterday, despite the fact he was running supposedly the softer tires. Whoa, look at that, a big slide as he came through for Will Power. Boy, that was a big slide. He now is on the black sidewall tires along with our race leader Sebastian Bourdais, and as you can see, Robert Dornbos, he started off in reds and he stays on reds as well.
Yeah, he did. He went reds to reds there. It's an interesting strategy, a good call I think from Michael Kanan. Given the situation they were in, they're going to try and use their tire advantage right now to stay with and hopefully get by Sebastian, but I'd like to see him running a little bit closer at this point. He's close-ish, but he's certainly not in the ballpark to make a move just yet. He's going to have to rely on a mistake from Sebastian, and as we know, Jeremy, that's probably not going to happen.
That's exactly right. I think we're looking at 3 pit stops this afternoon, so if Will Power, he's kept a complete set of reds. He hasn't even used it, a brand new sticker set of red sidewall tires for Will Power to use in the latter stages of this race. And he said all weekend long, he and his team owner, Derek Walker, for the whole Team Australia organisation, just concentrating on the race. And in order to get prepared best for the race, he wanted to make sure he started on the front row. Mission accomplished on Friday because he was quickest in qualifying, got himself a championship point and a guaranteed front row start. Yesterday in final qualifying, really wasn't too concerned, and he was very encouraged when he set the 3rd fastest time overall, beaten only by Sebastian Bourdais, who ran 2 sets of the red sidewall tyres, and by Robert Dornbos, who ran a similar strategy. And now clearly Team Australia and Will Power, they're going to keep both of their red sets of tyres to use in the latter stages of this race, whereas most of the other guys are going to be running on black tyres in the final stages.
And how that could really help them, there's a few scenarios that could really help them, Jeremy. If they're running close to a guy and they have green flag pit stops, those red tires are definitely going to help on an out lap. They're going to get up to temperature quicker, and for the first few laps, they're going to be significantly faster. And so that, during the cycle of the pit stops, could help them, I should say, leapfrog the guys in front of them. Another scenario is if these temperatures cool off a little bit. I know we just saw the sun come out for a little bit, but it still is an overcast sort of day. And we've been hearing from a lot of the drivers and engineers this weekend that this track seems to be really picky with these tires. You've got to be very particular and very precise with both tire pressures and tire temperatures. And if it's a little bit cooler, what you're going to see is the red sidewall tires that generate a little bit more heat, a little bit more grip, are going to obviously benefit even more in slightly cooler conditions. So a little bit of cloud cover, good timing on pit stops if you're close to a guy, and these red tires later in the race could really be a benefit.
We seem to see certainly more shadows a couple of laps ago right away at the restart than we do right now. The clouds seem to be a little bit more cloud cover now as there was in the early stages of the race. As we look at these guys in about 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th positions there, in Paul Tracy's place is in 7th, and the head of this group of cars is Alex Tagliani, then Neil Jarney. They're the first 2, then Will Power for Team Australia, the red and white card CCWS machine of Justin Wilson, and there the Rocket Sports machine of Alex Tagliani. Right behind Tagliani is Neil Jarney. Right behind Neil Jarney is Paul Tracy, and then a short gap back to Simon Pagenaud and Oriol Serviet, then Jan Halen rounding out the top 10.
Okay.
There's Jan Halen in the middle of the pack there. Graham Rahals moved up a couple of positions in that first round of pit stop for the Newman Haas Lanigan team. Graham now up into 11th place, having run 13th or 13th, I believe it was, in the very early stages on board there with the car of Jan Halen. And it looked like Graham Rahal had a bit of a run on him down that back straight, but not close enough to even think about making a pass. Just looking at how much Cosworth power to pass some of the drivers have used. Neither the first 2, Bourdais or Dornbos, have used their Cosworth power to pass button. It's the button on the steering wheel. Gives an extra 300 RPMs, about 50 horsepower, and you have 60 seconds worth of that Cosworth power to pass through the entire event. And the Will Power's using just very briefly, just a couple of seconds worth. Justin Wilson used 6 seconds worth, Tagliani 10 seconds worth, and Neil Jarni has used more than anybody else. Almost half of his usage already gone, just 37 seconds out of the 60 left for Neil Jarni. Coming down into turn one more time, and Jan Heylen running there in 10th place, running a steady pace in the early stages. Will Power, who has set the fastest lap of the race, down a 1 minute 15.480. That was set on lap 15, so 7 laps ago. That was right before we went to that brief full course caution because of the debris down in the turn 5 area. Again on board here once again with Jan Heylen, and there goes Graham Rahal, a great pass down to the inside.
And you could see, I think we were actually, right as this was happening, it was a great pass from Graham. We're getting word from pit lane that Jan Heylen has lost 7th gear, because I was going to say while I was on board, and he's looking into turn 7, just not going to happen there.
So a problem there for Jan Heylen. So try and listen on board, see if we can hear what's happening there. If he has lost 7th gear, that certainly is bad news. He use it at least on a couple of the straightaways here at the circuit Zolder, and that would explain why the fact he wasn't nearly as quick on the straightaways as was Graham Rahal. So now it's Rahal who moves up into the 10th position. He will begin to put the pressure on Oriol Servia.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt him now. I mean, you could hear when we were on board there as Graham Rahal came up, he was sitting on the rev limiter. He had just run out of gear because he was 1 short. So I think they might actually only hit 7th gear at one part of the track. That would have been the part that they were just at, heading down into turn 5. I'm not sure if they hit it heading down into 7 or not, but either way, that's not going to help him. And, you know, it's not going to help fuel consumption, and it's certainly not going to help him defending positions against guys like Tristan Gomnier. You can see Graham Rahal in the distance. He's looking, he's trying to make a move, dives down the inside of Servia, can't quite get it done, but he is very close.
Yeah, you can see the red light flashing on the back of that car. That indicates that he is using the Cosworth power to pass button. And Graham Rahal trying to make a move on Oriol Servia. He caught up to him right away after getting past this man, after getting past Jan Heylen. Graham Rahal caught up right quickly onto the tail of Oriol Servia and trying to strike while the iron is hot, effectively trying to make that move right away, but not quite close enough under braking.
He is catching him though. I mean, it's not that surprising because Graham really he's been on the pace all weekend long. It was an unfortunate incident in qualifying. He just kind of ran wide and was not able to start where he wanted, but running well right now, looking to move up, but Bourdais leads in Zolder.
Champ car on its European vacation. The drivers and teams are not just racing for wins, but also the Fanos Resorts European Team Cup. Much like the Canadian Triple Crown, which was won by Team Australia, the Fanos European Team Cup pits the teams against each other during a 2-race European swing. Drivers earn points during both qualifying sessions and the race. And the team with the most points after next weekend's event in Holland will hoist the Fanos European Cup. There's a design. This is Alex Figge off the road. We've seen that a lot this season. Alex Figge, he qualified at the tail of the field. He's actually running in 14th place. He made a couple of positions during that first round of pit stops, having passed Catherine Legg away from the start. And as you can see, JD Wilbur there has out the double yellow flags. The second time today, we're under full course caution here at Circuit Zolder.
It looks like that's the first corner, Jeremy. We saw the exact same thing from Alex. I think in qualifying yesterday, he's been in that exact gravel trap, almost the exact same position earlier this weekend. I want to say it was yesterday's qualifying session. So, you know, an unfortunate instance there for Alex Figge, but no damage, I don't think, to that car, just beached in the gravel. So the safety team should be able to get him bump started and back on track.
And certainly this, the pits are still closed. You can see the red board there to the left of the picture with the red P indicates that the pit lane is closed. Not allowed to make a pit stop until the entire field has packed up behind the Hull Metro safety car. And let's have a look at the replay of what happened to Alex Figge. He's running in 14th position for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team. He's a first-year driver, and there is the team there assisting him now, trying to get him back underway. But it's certainly not the way that Alex Figge wanted to start his race career in Europe. He's not raced over in this country before, in Europe before, I should say. But he was certainly very much looking forward to this event, and the Pacific Coast Motorsports team, the only team these days to be based on the west coast of America in Southern California, have really come on strong these last few events, and they're looking for a strong run this weekend. Let's have a look at some of the European races we've had in the past. The first races that the Champ Cars ran in Europe back in '78. I was there. AJ Foyt won at Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Rick Mears, and it was astonishing at the time. I well remember that Daniel Gaius was clocked at 175 miles an hour across the finishing line at Brands Hatch on the short circuit. We subsequently became known as the Indy circuit, and he was braking shortly thereafter. Amazing. You had to slow that car down for Paddock Hill Bend. Came back to Europe after a 23-year absence. Raced twice in 2001 at the Euro Speedway at the Lausitz Ring in eastern Germany. Kenny Brack won that race for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. And in '01 at Rockham, Gilles de Ferran for Derek Walker's team. And the following year back to Rockham, Dario Franchitti was the very popular winner there. And in '03, 2 races in Europe then. Sebastian Bourdais, his very first Champ Car win in his 4th only start in the Champ Cars, pretty much set the trend for the years to come. And then 1 week later, he won at the Euro Speedway as well, and he's hardly let up since, James Hitchton.
Yeah, it's pretty much been status quo since then, hasn't it, Jeremy? He's just been on an absolute tear the last 4 years. He's done a remarkable job. You really can't fault the guy in any way.
No, 2 wins in his first 5 starts in the Champ Car World Series, and now, of course, he's taken his win tally way beyond that. And he's just, he's just getting better and better and better, it seems. He's had 69 starts coming into this day. He's had 28 wins, just a remarkable win percentage. And as a result of that, he's going to get a chance to realise his dream next year when he drives for Scuderia Toro Rosso in Formula One. And certainly it's going to be a very interesting scenario for Sebastian Bourdais, because he's so used now to running at the front of the field with Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. Whether Scuderia Toro Rosso can give him winning equipment remains to be seen. Certainly they've got certainly top-class designers there, and they're really building that team. They certainly seem to be certainly taking it seriously. I'm not sure they've treated their drivers very well at all this season. Scott Speed already got the axe, but Antonio Liuzzi also told his service not to be required next year. But Bourdais, he was, they've made a commitment now to Sebastian Bourdais and Sebastian Vettel, the youngster from Germany. It'll be interesting to see whether that team can up the ante and become more competitive in the years to come. Certainly we all hope so, because Sebastian Bourdais is an enormous talent. Here's a look at the memorial stone there to the great Gilles Villeneuve, killed her back in 1982. 25 years ago that was, in qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. He just came into contact with the rear end of the car driven by Jochen Mass and somersaulted. Just a horrible day all around us. So look at us, not everybody is coming onto pit lane. So some of the guys here towards the back of the pack coming in to make a pit stop. I think that was Bill Stevens is in the pit lane.
Graham Rahal is headed for the pits, and he was very unhappy with his qualifying, only because the car was good, but he got caught up in some traffic and a red light and was unable to make his fast lap. So he has started a lot further back in the field than he wanted, but as we've seen, he's beginning to make slow progress through the field. Red tires off, primary's on, and he's out.
Good stop there. We've seen both of the Forsyth Championship racing cars onto pit lane, and Alex Tagliani as well, it looked like. So I believe there that PT might have vaulted ahead of Alex Tagliani. To wait and see when they come out of the pit lane. Looked to me, though, as if there was one of the Forsyth Championship racing cars sandwiching, it would appear, the Rocket Sports machine of Alex Tagliani. So good pit stop there by the Forsyth Championship racing guys, and they get PT back out ahead of, there he is there, running ahead now of Alex Tagliani. So interesting strategy for these guys, particularly for Paul Tracy, who's running in 7th place, and Tagliani in 5th place, and yet they come in for just a splash of gas here. Well, I can tell you the reason for it is, they're planning ahead to the finish of the race. We know how long the race is going to be, so the teams have to work out their strategies going backwards from there. And we knew going in that it was going to be definitely a 3 pit stop race, but the first pit stop of the day was a little bit sooner than many of the teams had really anticipated. They were hoping to go at least until lap 19. In actual fact, I think they came in on lap 17, so at least 2 or maybe even 3 laps earlier than they had originally hoped to come in. And that sort of puts off their strategy all the way through the race. So I think they're reckoning now, hey, we're towards the back of the pack, particularly for some of these guys. Why not come in now, fill up with fuel, and it'll give us an opportunity now to run a little bit longer before they make their next pit stop. Yeah,
I guess ultimately with that early yellow, what it's done is it's made the potential for, in the second and more importantly the third stint, having to do a little bit of fuel saving. And I can understand that some of the guys are in the back, but like you say, Paul Tracy was running in 6th or 7th position at the time, and it seems like he's given up a bit of track position. The only other thing that could be happening was maybe Paul's really struggling to hit the fuel numbers, and they knew that he was going to have to come in, so they took the opportunity under yellow now to get it done. So either way, it'll be interesting to see how these strategies play out once we get back to green flag racing.
So still under caution here at Circuit Zolder. Sebastian Bourdais, who leads from Robert Dormos, Will Power, Justin Wilson and Alex Tagliani, and still over an hour to go in this race. Getting ready for a restart here, and the green flag is waved, and there goes Sebastian Bourdais, like just like they pulled the trigger there, didn't he, Sebastian Bourdais? He got a great jump once again on Robert Dormos and Will Power.
That time he was on his Cosworth power to pass. The red light would have been flashing at the back of that car. Wanted to make sure he did get a good jump on Dornbrosch, and he certainly did. Will Power and Justin Wilson falling in line. Neil Johnny now running in 5th. Simone Pagenaud is up to 6th place now. Obviously had a pretty poor qualifying, qualified 8th after running strong all weekend, and a very bad opening since the race fell right back to the bottom of the charts. But now he's come back up to 6th. Good strategy from Team Australia. Jan Halen is up to 7th. A great run for him.
Yeah, of course, that's largely as a result, those guys, in particular, of some of these other guys making pit stops during that latest caution period. And so we've now got 2 sets of teams running two different strategies in the still relatively early stages of this race. We've got just, 45 minutes, I believe, gone now in the race, so exactly pretty much 1 hour to go. The scoring system's playing up a bit here. But you can see that Sebastian Bourdais leads, and Graham Rahal now running in 11th place, having just made that splash and go. It's a very quick splash and go as well, as he got himself out ahead there of Catherine Legg. There is Paul Tracy now, relegated to 12th place. Yeah, Graham's just got himself past Catherine Legg. So Bill Stevens.
Yeah, guys, I just spoke to John Cisconicus. He is the crew chief for Graham Rahal. I think there was a little chess game going on there. They put the tires out as if they were going to change them, but the plan was to add fuel. They were thinking that, maybe if everybody else thinks we're going to do tires, it might convince them that they need to do it too. For whatever reason, they did not change the tires. He said by going with just fuel, they thought maybe they could pick up a track position.
Well, thanks, Bill Stevens, and a little bit of interesting strategies being played there. Certainly, I think little chance of anybody changing tyres at that stage. They'd only just come in to change tyres about 4 or 5 laps earlier, and they changed most of them from the red sidewall tyres to the black sidewall tyres. Not really any need to change tyres again. Here on board there with Graham Rahal, he closes up onto the tail now of Ryan Dalziel, who's running inside the top 10 for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team. And Graham, he's quickly made quick work of Catherine Legg at that restart. And as you can see, here's the light blue and white car. There, well, that's Tristan Gomondi now running in 8th position. And Bill Stevens one more time. So there is Catherine Legg. She's now running in 11th position. She's at the 14th best lap of the race so far. She's actually lapped quicker than Tristan Gomondi and Ryan Dalziel and Alex Figge, who I think is back in the fray, but now several laps down. And just 1 lap down, I believe, for Alex Figge. But on board again with Graham Rahal. And he's certainly got a very quick car this weekend. He probably hasn't shown the best of it so far. Thus far, just the 12th best lap in the race so far. It's Will Power, who still has the fastest lap of the race, a 1:15.48. Bill Stevens. Report there from Bill Stevens, but Ryan Dalziel is running in 9th place at the moment. He's had a very good start to his career. Of course, he sat out the race a couple of races ago after breaking his collarbone. Did not race in San Jose, but he's had a couple of very strong runs. He qualified in the top 10 in Toronto, and he's had several, well, he had a good run. He was actually leading the race in Toronto and was running, looking good for a podium finish until he tangled with Justin Wilson in the closing stages. And Ryan Dalziel and his entire Pacific Coast Motorsports team has made great progress, haven't they, James, over the last 4 or 5 races.
They certainly have improved quite a bit. It's been a struggle for them, but Bill Stevens is now, we hope, on the Pacific Coast Motorsports.
And the
pit.
last time we saw Ryan Dalziel, he was recovering from that broken collarbone, and I saw him on Friday here at the track, and I asked him how he was feeling. He says he's completely healed. There's no pain whatsoever. I asked him any difficulties at all. He said, yes, here in Belgium, you actually have to pay to use the public restrooms, and it's getting expensive. Spoken like a true Scotsman, I guess.
I'm not going to go anywhere with that one. There is Ryan, and he's certainly enjoying racing back in Europe. Of course, he cut his career, he cut his teeth in European racing. Formula Renault finished second in the European Championship, the British Formula Renault Championship, to a gentleman by the name of Kimi Räikkönen, who's gone on to quite some success since
Who's
then.
that? I've never heard of him.
And Ryan Dalziel is looking to, he's finished second also in the Atlantic Championship in North America. It seems to be always the kind of nearly man, if you like, for Ryan. And finally, he's got an opportunity to drive now full-time in the Champ Car World Series. He's absolutely loving it. But he's certainly realizing that you have to work a lot harder to be competitive in this level on a personal level than you do in most other series on the way up through the ladder.
And that's absolutely true. I mean, every level that you graduate to, you're going to see a rise in the level of commitment required from the driver, and I think that's one of the biggest gaps, is going from an Atlantic car, for example, up to a Champ car. Your physical fitness, the amount of attention required from you off track, from media, from sponsors and things like that, it really is a pretty big jump. And it's no longer just, you know, I show up on a Thursday and race till Sunday, go home and relax till the following race. It really is a full-time job. It's 24/7, 365 for these guys, and I think that's been a bit of an adjustment for Ryan, but at the same time, he's loving absolutely every minute of it.
Yes, he does, particularly with Alex Figge, who's a bit of a character as well. And Ryan, of course, he made his Champ Car debut in 2005 at Toronto, driving for Dale Coyne Racing. Came away with a top 10 finish on that occasion. Unfortunately, unable to translate it into a full-time ride into the Champ Car World Series. He did 2 years of sports car racing with Pacific Coast Motorsports team. First of all in the Grand Am, well, first of all in the American Le Mans Series, and then in the Grand Am Championship. And this year moving into the Champ Cars. And you know, he's just saying that racing Champ Cars is very physically demanding. It's much more, I think, demanding than he'd realised. He thought he'd driven some pretty impressive cars over the last few years, but he's working a lot harder now physically to prepare himself for these machines. He's another guy who works himself very hard physically. Is Jan Halen. He's an avid cyclist, and that is very much a part of his training regimen.
And it is a lot of the drivers. I mean, as you say, Jan's probably one of the fittest drivers on the grid right now, and it's just such a big part of what we do as drivers, and he is certainly up there. Running now with just over 50 minutes left at Zolder.
There is Jan Halen running now in 7th place as a result of several guys making pit stops in front of him. That repaired graphic print car of the Conquest Racing team. A couple of positions behind is Ryan Dalziel. There is Graham Rahal running in 10th place now. Still only set the 14th best lap of the race. And meanwhile, his teammate Sebastian Bourdais, he still leads, of course. Not only that, he's reclaimed the fastest lap of the race. Sebastian Bourdais, a 1 minute 15.174. The next best lap, Will Power, at a 1 minute 15.440. So he has gone quicker since the last round of pit stops than he had in the early stages. And both Sebastian Bourdais and Will Power are still on the black sidewall tyres, James.
Yeah, they're running a pretty good pace, all things considered. But you know, Robert Dornbos on the Reds, I was really expecting him to have a little bit more pace this stint, maybe be able to keep touch with Sebastian a little bit better than he has. So it just looks at this point like this man is in absolute control of this race, and there's not a whole lot that's going to stop him.
He's kind of on cloud nine. I mean, Formula One has been a dream of his throughout his career. That's what he's been aiming for. He's become very frustrated over the last 2 or 3 years. He had all this success in the Champ Car World Series, and it wasn't opening any doors for him in Formula One. Well, now that has changed. He'd had a couple of tests over the last, towards the end of last year, so a couple more tests this year, and it was announced just a few weeks ago that he is going to realise that dream. He will race in Formula One next year. And it's almost like a weight has been lifted from his shoulders, and he's now driving in such a relaxed frame of mind. And James, that has to help you as a driver.
Yeah, it helps him, but it hurts every other driver in this championship as Sebastian Bourdais leads in the Grand Prix of Belgium.
So we're still a bit over halfway through this race. We've got 34 laps completed. We're anticipating about 70 laps in the race, perhaps, or thereabouts. It can be hard to anticipate with the full course cautions, and for any more to come, probably a little bit less than 70 actually, if we go the full stiff distance. So certainly, I think a couple more pit stops we can expect for everybody. If you want any more Champ Car race action, subscribe to Race Director. Just go to www.champcar.ws and choose from 6 different camera angles while you listen to team radio communications and view the live telemetry, all on your home computer. It is Tristan Gomandy who's moved up well. He started way back in the pack. He started in 15th position, a very poor qualifying run for the Frenchman. He was on the pole at Mont Tremblant a month or so ago. He qualified way back in the pack, but Gomandy now certainly running a better pace in the race than he has shown the rest of the weekend. But talking of pace, it's all about this man, Sebastian Bourdais. The gap from first to second now has reached out over 3.5 seconds. There is the graphic. In the last 3 laps, gone from 2.2 to 2.9 to 3.6. So it's what, 6 or 7 tenths of a second a lap that Bourdais is pulling out over Robert Dornbos.
Yeah, he really is just on another planet at this point. He's just so comfortable in that car. It's balanced so well. It's exactly where he wants it. And that's one thing that's been so phenomenal about this driver and this team over the last 5 seasons, is that they so consistently seem to get a car under Sebastian that he's able to drive on the absolute limit. Him and his engineer, Craig Hamilton, work very, very closely. They've got an extraordinary relationship, those two, and they always seem to produce a race-winning car and then put it in the hands of a driver as talented as Sebastian. And there's really not much anyone else can do at this point.
That's right, Ewan. The last 8 races this season, well, the last 8 out of 10 races we've had, 7 on those occasions, he has set the fastest lap of the race. He set the fastest lap at Edmonton amongst that string, and that means that on every circuit in which we've raced in the past, Sebastian Bourdais has set the fastest lap. Just incredible pace he has shown, and he just, let's say, he's just driving better and better and better. And he's extended that gap. He's just reset the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 14.906, as we're getting ready now for the drivers to make their second scheduled pit stops of the day at the front of the field. With several other guys farther down the order coming to make their second pit stop. And I think within now a couple of laps, it will be Sebastian Bourdais, Robert Dornbos and Will Power who will bring their cars onto the pit lane.
And this is an important time for him to push. I mean, well, I guess if the battle was a little bit closer, this would be an important time for him to push, but he's kind of doing his own race. I mean, he is driving as if there was a car right on his gearbox, threatening him at any corner and any mistake. But this is the real battle. It's Robert Dornbos in second place, and then Will Power in third. He's just a little bit less than a second behind him right now, and these guys are getting close.
Yeah, and over the last, 5 or 6 laps, this gap between second and third has really come down dramatically. Probably the gap from first to third, from Bourdais to Power, hasn't really changed that much, but it's Bourdais who's slipping back into the clutches of Will Power.
Dornbos slipping back, yeah, and I think what you said, Bourdais, but that's all right. I think what might be causing that, Jim, is we see that Dornbos is on those red sidewall tires. The softer compound, it deteriorates and falls off a little bit quicker, and it's not as consistent over a longer run. And they've had a long run since that full course caution back on lap like 16 it was it first came out. And so these guys are, Robert Dornbos now starting to struggle maybe with the grip level on those tires. He's lucky that he's starting to come to the pit window, but remember that Will Power now has reds that he's able to put onto his car, which should be a little bit better for the opening laps of the next stint. We could see some positions changing up here at the front.
Well, that's exactly right. That's what we're going to see unfold as this race gets towards the closing stages, because, as you say, Will Power, who's run blacks in both of his stints in the early stages, now he's going to have to switch to the reds probably for the remainder of the race. And he's going to go out with a brand new set of red tyres as well at some stage, either at this pit stop or the one more we're anticipating after that before the end of the race. And you can see now that was Justin Wilson was closing in on that battle for second and third as well. A little bit farther back in the pack, that is Paul Tracy holding off Alex Tagliani and Oriol Serbi there. Behind Oriol Serbi is Bruno Junqueira as well.
Battle of the Canadians right here. That's back for 11th position. So these guys kind of struggling right now. I mean, we saw a little bit of promise out of the Foresight team, a little bit of an improvement over the last few rounds in qualifying, but doesn't seem to have translated into much speed in the race so far.
We're expecting perhaps Robert Dornbos to come into the pit lane this time, and we're expecting perhaps that Sebastian Bourdais will stay out one more lap. There is that battle between those Canadians.
Yeah, and I also just want to add on there to that last point. These actually were 3 of the cars that did stop under that second safety car, I think. Yeah, for Alex Figge. So it was you know, that's why they're a little bit further back down the grid. It's not just on sheer pace. That's my mistake.
Yeah, so they had a little bit more fuel than most of the other guys. And let's not forget, of course, that Graham Rahal also pitted with these guys. And where is Graham Rahal? Nowhere to be seen. Yes, there's the flashing rear light there of Alex Tagliani. He used the Cosworth powder pass, but not quite close enough. Bill Stevens.
Dornbos is already in there waiting for Sebastian Bourdais further down the pit, but as far as Dornbos is concerned, the 4 tires go on. I do not believe they made an adjustment to the car, just the tires and the fuel, as Jan Halen swings by Dornbos as he comes in for his pit stop.
Yeah, so the 2 local drivers, if you like, Robert Dornbos from Holland and Jan Halen from Belgium, making their second pit stops of the day. There is the Conquest Racing guys. They were just waiting for the last of the fuel to go on board, and there it is. Jan Halen rejoins the fray. He was running inside the top 10. Should have been running a good pace this afternoon. Nothing stellar, certainly not as quick as he would like, but he has set the 8th fastest lap of the race as Jan Halen. So considering particularly the fact he had no running at all on Friday, well, other than 4 corners were, it's a very good effort.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And now our leader, Sebastian Bourdais, going 1 lap later than Robert Dornbos is in pit lane. And Bill Stevens will be in the pit to call this stop as well.
Yes, Newman Haas Lanigan Racing well out in front. And Bill Stevens is waiting for Sebastian Bourdais to pull onto the pit lane for his second pit stop of the day. Bill.
And guys, even though he is dominant today, they are still fine-tuning that car. In the last pit stop, they dialed front wing in. They just told Sebastian that they were going to, as you can see, they undialed that front wing on this pit stop. The tires are on, waiting for as much fuel as possible. This pit stop is over.
Very, very long pit lane here. So 40-mile-an-hour speed on the pit lane, as we've heard, down from the usual 50 miles an hour. So you lose a lot of time coming in to make a pit stop. There's several other guys coming in a little bit farther down the order, including perhaps Will Power and Justin Wilson, that have managed to go 1 lap more than did Sebastian Bourdais. So that's going to be interesting. I think fancy perhaps they might well be able to vault ahead of Robert Dornbos once this round of sequence of pit stops has been completed.
And then this man, Simon Pagenaud, now finds himself in the lead. He should be ducking in this lap, I would imagine. He pitted the same lap as everyone else on lap 17 there, so he's made very good use of his fuel, and there he goes. From the lead, he dives, I should say, into pit lane, the last of the leaders to pit.
Yeah, Team Australia then, for particularly here, Simon Pagenaud making excellent mileage there. He goes from lap 17 all the way through to lap 40 before he comes onto the pit lane.
But we're on board now with Will Power, who in that last pit exchange was leapfrogged by Justin Wilson. So he has lost a position as his teammate comes in for service.
Yeah, there is Simon Pagenaud now onto the pit lane. You can see black sidewall tires coming off the car. Black sidewall tires also going onto the car number 15. The Aussie Vineyards car, and away goes Simon Pagenaud. Looked like an excellent stop there for the car number 15. Craig Ramsey leads that team on the outside front corner, and several other drivers making pit stops as well. Farther back, here's these guys who were in for service out of sequence during the previous full course caution as Simon Pagenaud rejoins the fray. It's going to be Graham Rahal now, who leads by quite a substantial margin over Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani. So Pagenaud rejoining the race, and certainly he had a great run going in the middle of the season. He had, what, 4 or 5 top 5 finishes in a row, but the last couple of races, the results fallen away for Simon Pagenaud. So a variety of reasons, none of which is particularly convincing, but he's certainly hoping for a strong run here. A lot of Simon's friends have come up from Montmorillon in France to watch this race in Belgium. There is the Medizone car, Newman Haas Lanigan Racing once again. If it isn't one, it's the other, isn't it? Sebastian Bourdais has dominated the early stages of the race, and on board very briefly there with Graham Rahal, who's picked up the cudgels now, and as you can see, he's got a healthy margin over the next place car, and he's now trying to turn some quick laps. He's going quicker than he was earlier on. He had about 5 or 6 laps ago, had only the 14th best lap of the race. Graham Rahal now has set the 9th fastest lap, so getting a little bit quicker. His best lap is 16.183, and that compares to the 114.089 that Sebastian Bourdais made just 1 lap before his pit stop. So Sebastian Bourdais, 1 minute 14.089. That is more than a second faster than anybody else has gone in this race, James.
But I mean, it's really not that surprising coming from him. We think back just to the last race, Road America, Saturday qualifying, his pole lap was 1.5 seconds quicker than second place. Put that in perspective, 1.5 seconds covered second through 17th. That's the rest of the field. So he's just, when it comes down to getting one lap down when he needs it, which is right before a pit stop's the best time to do it in a race. That's when you really need to lay down those quick laps. Sebastian Bourdais is absolutely on it. And that's exactly the kind of thing that, the kind of talent and approach that he's going to need when he does make that jump over to Formula One.
Certainly right. And Ryan Diel, we're here, might have had a problem in the pits, or broken drive shaft perhaps, we're hearing, for the car number 28, the Pacific Coast Motorsports car of Ryan Diel. He'd been running nicely in the middle of the field, had Ryan. He just set the 9th best lap of the race as Graham Rahal improves once again down to 1 minute 15.3. Ryan had been running nicely, but now apparently out of the race after suffering a broken drive shaft. Up in second place now, carrying the colours of the Holmetro safety team this weekend is the Holmetro safety equipment is Alex Tagliani. He's moved ahead of Paul Tracy, and Catherine Legg is just ahead of these two on the road, but is shown as 1 lap down. I don't know how she lost that lap. I think she came in slightly out of sequence with everybody else. And Tagliani now trails Graham Rahal by over 10 seconds. So Rahal has certainly set up a pretty remarkable pace since coming in for his second pit stop of the day. And he's pulled well away from this pack of cars, with Alex Tagliani now getting himself ahead of Paul Tracy. And Tracy now coming under increasing pressure from his Forsyth Championship Racing teammate, Oriol Servia.
Yeah, they're certainly putting the pressure on as Ted comes up on Catherine now. She's going to have to let him by. She is a lap down, and there she goes. She pulls out of the way, lets Alex go by, and now she's going to have to do the same for the two Forsyth cars.
And so Alex Tagliani runs in second place, but about 11 seconds behind Graham Rahal. Catherine Leather trying to get out of the way. She's going to now be under increasing pressure. Well, there is Paul Tracy and Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira right behind her as well. So Catherine really has now got to pay attention, I think, coming through these couple of corners onto the back straight. And I would hope wave these guys past. Yeah, there she is. They're getting offline going through turn 2, is she? Down to the inside goes Paul Tracy, and Catherine Legg certainly doesn't make it very easy for her, but now she's pushed offline. Look at that, Oriol Servia using the Cosworth power to pass, and Paul Tracy using in defense. They go side by side down to the back chicane here at Zolder. Side by side there, they come up the hill. It's Bruno Junqueira now gets a run coming off that chicane, downhill into turn 7, and it's Bruno Junqueira who makes the pass on Paul Tracy. So within a couple of corners, PT has gone from 3rd place to 5th.
And you know what? It really all was because Catherine Legg was not very clever about where she let those cars go by. I mean, she really held up Paul through the first corner, through the second corner as well, as we see Dominguez now going by Catherine, and he really just got balked up there heading through corner 4, and that allowed Oriol Servia to capitalize. And once Servia got Paul off his rhythm, then Bruno was able to move in as well. He was very slow coming off that turn 5 chicane was Paul Tracy. I wonder if he maybe didn't get down enough gears, maybe missed one of his downshifts rushing into the corner. Yeah, it could be. He's been complaining of differential problems in the early stages of the race. He said he's been spinning the inside wheel, and he's just not been happy with that car. I don't think he'll be happy with Catherine Legg either, because I really do fancy that Catherine could have got out of the way a little bit earlier to let PT have a run. After she'd let Alex Tagliani go through, she waited, I think, rather too long before she let Tracy through. Here is Tagliani. He's taken advantage of the fact he made a good jump there, pulled a long way clear of Paul Tracy and these other guys that were battling for second place. He comes in for what is his 3rd pit stop of the day, a routine pit stop for the Rocket Sports crew. 40 miles an hour all the way down this very long pit lane here at Circuit Zolder. He's going to lose an awful lot of time, but still it's Graham Rahal running strong at the front and clearly making good fuel mileage as well. He stays out one more time. His gap over the second place car of Oriol Servia is shown as last time around, but over almost 17 seconds. So he's really having a good job, doing a good job here as Graham Rahal. And finally, he's beginning to show the pace of which he is undoubtedly capable. He's now actually just set the 2nd best lap of the race last time around, a 1 minute 14.766. So finally now, Graham is getting his act together. He's really starting to lay it down. I mean, if you think Oriol Servia pitted the same time Graham did under that caution for Alex Figge, and look at the gap that he has managed to pull out. So he knows he's got the car beneath him. He's been quick all weekend. Now he's finally starting to let it show, but from what I'm looking at, he last pit on lap 27. We're on the 47th. On 46 laps in the book on lap 47, so he's not coming in this lap. It'll probably be next lap, so he really has to lay these laps down, because with such a long pit lane in Zolder, he's going to be penalized more so than usual in terms of how much time he'll lose completing a pit stop. So we'll see where he cycles out. He's still not going to be that high up the grid. I'm thinking he might come out in the 11th, 12th, maybe the 10th region, but not that great. And there we go, he does. He dives into pit lane, having done another good lap time, 1:14.766 for Graham on his in lap.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. Bill Stevens is in that pit. And he's waiting for Graham Rahal. This will be his third pit stop of the day, running comfortably there in the lead, and so it's a very quick laps prior to this scheduled pit stop.
I just spoke to John Chisanikis again, the crew chief. Thanks, Rick. And here comes Graham Rahal. And no hip fake this time. They will change the tires this time and put on fuel. No adjustments to the car. And so this is last pit stop. You don't seem to think it will.
Timmy Coffeen there on the left front of this car. He's been around this sport a long, long time, changing an outside front tire. He's a great leader to have on the pit lane. And a great stop there by Graham Rahal. As Bill Stevens said, he's now onto the red sidewall tyre, supposedly the faster tyre this weekend. Let's see where he rejoins. Right ahead of one of the Team Australia cars. I think that is Simon Pagenaud, yes. And Simon Pagenaud was running in 9th position. I fancy now is up in 8th there with Rahal down to 9th place. But how quickly now can Rahal get those tyres up to a proper optimal working temperature, James?
Yeah, because he's got two cars, Robert Dornbos right behind him, Neil Johnny behind them. So, you know, he came out a little bit further ahead than I thought, but this certainly is not over for him, because he's got two cars that are warm tired, a little bit lighter on fuel right on his tail. And you see Robert Dornbos 2 straightaways in a row on the Cosworth Power to Pass, trying to get by Graham.
Yeah, and he's made excellent use of these red sidewall tyres as Graham Rahal. He's really got that car up to speed very, very quickly, because he has not lost an awful lot of ground to Simon Pagenaud. He's managed to maintain position ahead of Robert Dornbos, who's been quick all weekend, and they're lurking in the background as well is Neil Jarni. Very good outlap here for Graham Rahal.
It's been really impressive, actually. Think full tanks. I mean, here they've got to put every single drop they can into that tank because of the poor fuel consumption that these cars are getting. So really, really good stuff. I mean, by 3-4 corners into it, he was right up to the pace of the guys he was with. So Graham really starting to drive well. Really heads up driving from him.
Yeah, we got 1 hour and 11 minutes gone in this race. What's that? 34 minutes to go. And yeah, I think everybody's going to have to make probably one more pit stop from here. It's going to be maybe a splash for these guys. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can get to the end of the race from here. Here is Bruno Junqueira making his scheduled pit stop for the Dale Coyne Racing Team. Mario Dominguez for Minardi Team USA. He's lost the right rear wheel on that car. He just made a scheduled pit stop. 47 laps completed for Mario Dominguez.
Just a few moments ago, Mario told his pit crew the wheel does not feel right. Something is amiss. Well, he was right. You saw what happened.
And a full course caution has come out for Mario Dominguez, and this could really play into the hands of Graham Rahal and Bruno Junqueira, who we also just saw pit. With a few laps of caution, they might just be able to get it. So here we see, you can see the tires already loose. And yeah, and there it goes, just right after pit stop. We saw a similar thing happen to Catherine Legg this morning in warm-up, actually. As soon as she pulled out of pit lane, I think she only made it 4 corners before one of her rear tires fell off. So very unfortunate that, you know, the rear tire there came off the car.
Yeah, what a fine time to leave me, huh? Oh dear, what a shame for Mario Dominguez. Done a very good job this weekend. And once again, super sub driver for his 4th team this season. Absolutely remarkable for Mario Dominguez.
It's remarkable for a man who doesn't have a drive. I mean, he's raced a bunch of races, like you said, for 4 different teams now.
Yeah, but he's done a good job. I mean, he sat in this car for the very first time on Saturday morning. As we've lost our picture here, that's going to be helpful. But there is laying out for pit stops. That would be for Robert Dornbos. And let's have a look at Catherine Legg this morning. Exactly the same problem. Same. Well, there goes the wheel nut off the car. And along goes the wheel behind her, bouncing along, following her down the road. And she's got wondering, well, I wonder whose wheel that is. She's going to get hit by the wheel nut as well. So she did
Well, he was expecting something, wasn't he? He was right there, but...
Tell you what, this whole motor safety team really is on the ball here. They always are, you know, fantastically quick and into action, but that was fairly remarkable.
Almost too efficient, I think, yeah. But I mean, you can see, I think Catherine was even just on an install lap. She's on wet weather tires, actually, if you notice. So
actually, I think what happened there, the wheel had come off earlier on, and the safety team went out there. They put the wheel back on the car and sent her along the way, but they weren't able to tighten it up fully. And I think that's what happened there. They'd already started her, having tried to put that wheel nut back on, and it came off again just a few corners later. So that's why.
That was take two. That's why he's so close. You're right, Jeremy. Good call.
Take two, indeed it was. So the pit lane is now open, and this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. We've heard Sebastian Bourdais say several times in the past, hey, you can be the quickest guy in the field, but you don't necessarily mean you're going to win the races. And is the strategy now going to come out against him? This full course caution with what just about a half an hour remaining in this race. I'll try and do the sums, but I'm not very good at thinking on the run, but it's going to be very interesting. Everybody certainly is now going to have to make a pit stop, but Graham Rahal and Bruno Junqueira and a couple of others, can they go the distance? So there is Neil Jarney, who's running in the 7th position at the moment. It's Bourdais who leads from Wilson, from Will Power, then Simon Pagenaud, then Graham Rahal, Robert Dornbos, Neil Jarney, Jan Halen, Tristan Gomondi, and Bruno Junqueira rounding out the top 10. Behind Junqueira, Servia Tagliani and Tracy, then Catherine Legg, and already out of the race are Mario Dominguez, Alex Figge, who I think is still running but a couple of laps down, and Ryan Diel perhaps is, you know, we'd heard that he'd got a drive shaft problem. I fancy that actually might not be the case. Quite sure our scoring here isn't terribly up to date. He's shown us 3 laps down, isn't he, Randy? So it was a long time ago we talked about his drive shaft problem, so I think it clearly must have been something else that afflicted the PCM car, and Ryan Diel is running, albeit some way back from the rest of the field. So it's going to be very interesting now to see who makes pit stop and who doesn't. No doubt about it, all the leaders are going to have to come onto pit lane. Sebastian Bourdais, Justin Wilson, Will Power, they are peeling off onto the pit road. And we can presume, I think, that Simon Pagenaud and presumably, actually we're showing that Graham Rahal has come onto the pit lane as well, but he'll only need yes he has, there was Graham Rahal, so he's taking on just a splash of fuel, and who else is going to come in as well? Just about the whole field coming onto pit lane.
This is going to work out very well for Graham, because he's only going to need, like you say, a very quick shot of fuel, be able to get out quickly, gain a bunch of positions, and then should be set for the end.
Yeah, these guys have to make full stops. Sebastian Bourdais gets out just ahead of Justin Wilson there. So great work, I think, from the CCW car. The Roosport machine of Justin Wilson gets out just ahead of Graham Rahal. He just came in. All he needed was a mere splash of fuel. And then certainly you're going to be make sure he's in very good shape to go to the end of the race. I think having pitted right now, they should be able to get to the end of the race without any further problems. You can see there at the top of the picture, 28 minutes, 47 seconds and ticking to go in this motor race. 51 laps already in the books, but now it's a timed race, as they all are this year at the Champ Car World Series. You know how long the races are going to be, and it certainly makes it some interesting decisions have to be made on pit lane. And we're going to see what tyres now everybody is on. But here is Jan Halen. He's on the black sidewall tyres, and you can see just a couple of cars ahead of him on the road is the pace car. So several guys did not come onto pit lane.
You know what, though, Jeremy? If I'm Graham Rahal, the pace that I had, knowing that I probably would essentially be leading this race had I not pitted where I am in the championship, I'd have taken the risk, not pitted. He did, though. We're going to see how this plays out with half an hour left to go in Zolder.
Welcome back to the Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium. Champ Car World Series is now available on the new iPhone. The site showcases the latest videos from the Champ Car World Series, including previews, recaps, interviews, and short video capsules of the latest races. iPhone owners can go to www.ccws2.com/i. This site will be updated regularly with the best from the Champ Car World Series for fans to watch on the go. Again, that's www.ccws2.com/i. New innovation for the Champ Car World Series. We see a replay of this Newman Haas Lanigan Racing pit stop with Sebastian Bourdais taking on fresh tyres and as much fuel as he needed. And there is Justin Wilson coming out in, well, second place of those guys making the pit stops right now. But those who did not stop this time around are fairly numerous. I think Simon Pagenaud, Jan Halen, Tristan Gomondi, and Bruno Junqueira all out on the racetrack ahead of the erstwhile leader, Sebastien Bourdais. It's going to be very interesting, I think, in the closing stages of this race. And we heard from the pit lane, perhaps, that Team Australia was perhaps expecting Simon Pagenaud to come onto the pit lane, but he did stay out on the track. Somebody else coming in there as well, but we've still got the four leaders here. That's Pagenaud, Halen. He's running the gauntlet here for Conquest Racing. Can he pull off a shot result in front of his hometown fans? What a day that would be.
Not a chance based on, I think when he pitted, they're going to need at least another really long caution for that to work out. But I fancy Bruno Junqueira has actually not got that bad a shot at doing well. If he can save a little bit of fuel, he's running right up there. The guys in front of him, I reckon all three are going to have to pit, absolutely. Where Bruno he's kind of right on that edge there. And it's like I was saying, Jeremy, if I was Graham Rahal, I think I'd have taken the risk. No, he's not really in the fight for the championship. It would have been worth a shot at glory, I think. And Bruno's done just that. So it's going to be this is going to be an interesting 25 and change minutes to close out this race.
Particularly, of course, if there is another full course caution, that would play into the hands, certainly, of Bruno Junqueira. These guys, you're right, if I looked at when they made their last pit stop, Simon Pagenaud came on lap 41, Jan Halen came in on lap 39, Tristan Gomondi on lap 40. It was lap 48 that Bruno Junqueira came onto pit lane right before that last caution period. And then Sebastien Bourdais, Justin Wilson, and the rest came in on lap 50, which was during the full course caution a couple of laps ago. So I completely agree with you. For Rahal in particular, what was there to lose? He had perhaps had an opportunity to become the youngest ever winner in the Champ Car World Series. That, of course, record was taken last year by Nelson Philippe, who won at the age of 20 years, 2 months and 29 days. Rahal's got a couple of years before he can reach that mark almost. He'll be 18 years, 7 months and 22 days this day here in Zolder in the region of eastern Belgium, and I think that's probably thrown away opportunity that he might have had to win this race, although you never count anybody out, do you, in Champ Car World Series. But certainly it's Simon Pagenaud who leads, Jan Halen in second, Tristan Gomondi, and then Bruno Junqueira. He is, as you say, James Hinchcliffe, the best placed of the guys that have made a pit stop in the recent past, and then Sebastien Bourdais, who's dominated the race thus far, Justin Wilson and Graham Rahal.
If I'm Bruno Junqueira, I'm fairly certain these three guys in front of me are going to have to pit. I know that Sebastien Bourdais is in front of me. I hold him up, let the three of them go, and just try and focus on trying to keep Sebastien Bourdais and Justin Wilson and Graham Rahal and Will Power behind me. Either way, I mean, it's going to be tough for him to maintain that position, but even still, if he can pull off a podium, maybe a top 5 almost certainly, this is going to be a great day for Dale Coyne and Bruno Junqueira.
Oh boy, wouldn't it just be. And in the 23-year history of Dale Coyne Racing, just 2 podium finishes to their name. That was Roberto Moreno in the US 500 in 1996, and Oriol Servia at Laguna Seca 3 years ago. But we're back to green now, and it's Simon Pagenaud who leads for the second time in his Champ Car career. Jan Halen in second place, Tristan Gomondi, Bruno Junqueira, and then right behind Bruno Junqueira, his former teammate at Newman Haas Landing Racing, Sebastien Bourdais.
It's going to be coming down to the wire on board with Jan Halen. You can see the shift lights on the steering wheel there. They kind of, tough to see, the picture was kind of fuzzing out there, but very unique, very interesting perspective there from inside the helmet of Jan Halen. Yeah,
Pagenaud's actually led a couple of races in the past. He led 5 laps at Mont Tremblant, a very good run there. He also led 1 lap in Toronto, and Simon Pagenaud now out in front for Team Australia, the Aussie Vineyards car number 15, and he's pulling away a little bit now from Jan Halen. Pagenaud, he's shown his paces this weekend. He was 3rd quickest in qualifying on Friday. He set the 4th fastest lap of the race also this afternoon.
He certainly has the pace. That's never been in question. Like you say, he's really had it all weekend long, just kind of struggled in qualifying, not dissimilar to Graham Rahal's story. Quick all weekend, just didn't get the lap done in qualifying. So now he's out in front, he's in clear air, he's got a chance to kind of show everybody what he's got this weekend. And who knows, if a yellow comes out, he might be sitting pretty. If not, he's going to fall down a little bit on this grid.
Yes, it is fascinating getting into the closing stages now. Just 1 hour 22 minutes gone, so what,
22 and a half minutes.
Oh, there he is at the top of the screen, thank you very much. On board though with Graham Rahal is now into 6th place, and I fancy this team might have thrown away an opportunity to win this motor race, but certainly Graham Rahal, he's perhaps had by his standards a slightly disappointing rookie season for Newman Haas Landing Racing, although he has had, 3 podium finishes now, I believe, including last time out in Road America. He had a third place finish also at Edmonton, of course, and then his very first podium finish came at Houston in just his third Champ Car start. So Graham Rahal has the speed. We've seen that over the years. He's still only 18 years of age, but he's raced already in Formula BMW, and then in Star Mazda Series, and also in Atlantics, of course, last year when he narrowly missed out on the Atlantic Championship to Simon Pagenaud. It's Pagenaud who used that $2 million prize to step up into the Champ Car World Series with Team Australia and Walker Racing, and making full use of that right now. Pagenaud it is who leads from Halem Gomandi, Junqueira Bourdais, and then this battle here with Graham Wilson and Justin Wilson trying to hold off Will Power. There is Sebastian Bourdais making a move on Bruno Junqueira.
You know, for someone in the championship fight, that was a risky move, and you saw Bruno Junqueira getting all sideways, his rear's locked under braking there, trying to go as deep as possible. Graham's going to look. He's definitely not close enough into corner one here, but that was a risky move from Sebastian Bourdais. Lucky that both of them came out of that with no contact.
Yeah, I fancy perhaps Bruno might be just having to save just a little bit of fuel at this stage, and maybe he's lifting off a little bit early towards the end of the straight, and Bourdais there just took full advantage, dived down the inside. Bruno got on the brakes as late as he possibly could, and he saw that car snap sideways. That was a great save from Bruno, and apart from anything else, it would have been easier there to run across the road, wouldn't it, and slide into Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, absolutely. No, both guys actually did a really good job. It was a bold move, but it was well pulled off by Sebastian, I have to say. That was one of those low percentage moves that only got pulled off contact-free because both guys are such heads-up drivers and gave each other the room they needed. So great stuff. And now Sebastian Bourdais is on a charge. He's going to start attacking the cars in front. He really wants this win.
Yeah, he's got a couple more laps of fuel on board than does Bruno Junqueira there, who's now running in fifth place. You can see Graham Rahal, he's made his way past Justin Wilson. So Rahal now is up into sixth place, and he's going to set his sights now on Bruno Junqueira. That is the Dale Coyne Racing car, the Sonny's barbecue machine of Bruno Junqueira and Dale Coyne Racing, running in the top 5 in the closing stages of the Grand Prix of Belgium. So there is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th places and on back, and you can see Sebastian Bourdais is pulling rapidly away from the Dale Coyne Racing machine of Bruno Junqueira. But Junqueira now is under intense pressure from Graham Rahal. Look at how much push the cars they have left. Simon Pagenaud, race lead, has 39 seconds worth. Let's look at the best starts in the Champ Car World Series for Dale Coyne Racing. We talked about it earlier on. Walter Salas, 1998 at Long Beach, was 4th on the grid. That is a position in which Bruno Junqueira started this weekend, and Bruno has been in the top 5 all weekend long.
Yeah, he's absolutely been on the pace, and not just this weekend. The last few races, he's really been up there. He's had a few top 5 qualifying efforts, and he's kind of been the resurgence of this team. You know, he's come on board. They struggled a little bit mid-season after a strong start, but they've really got their things back on track, and he's having a really competitive run right now.
And David Morgan, a very accomplished driver turned race engineer, he's back with Dale Coyne Racing. He's been on and off with DCR for the last 5 or 6 years. And David himself was an accomplished driver in Formula 2 and briefly in Formula 1 back in the 70s. That's his greatest claim to fame. He won't like me reminding you this, but it was a punch-up he had with James Hunt following a contretemps they had on track at Crystal Palace way back in the early 70s. I well remember that from the BBC television coverage. And the wonderful commentary of Murray Walker it was way back then. Murray, the voice of Formula 1 and motor racing indeed, certainly in Europe. And there is Will Power straying a couple of wheels off on the exit off turn 4. We've seen a few cars running off the road there, James.
Well, it's the fastest corner on the track, Jeremy. Very quick. Not a lot of curb on the exit, so it's kind of hard to judge how much you're going to use when you get there. And it is not difficult to drop a few wheels, kick up some dirt, but there's also a deep gravel trap and not a lot of distance to the wall for the amount of speed they're carrying through there. So kind of one of the more dangerous corners on this track, a bit more daunting for these drivers as well.
We've just got a flash out of the car number 14 of Robert Dornbos, the Minardi Team USA machine, and carrying some new colours on the car this weekend of Trust International, manufacturers of technological peripheral products for PCs, notebooks, iPods, and all sorts of high-tech devices. And it's been a difficult day for Robert Dornbos. He started on the 2nd row of the grid. He was 2nd quickest in qualifying yesterday. And as you can see, there are just 18 minutes to go now in this race. It's Simon Pagenaud who leads, but 7 lead changes. It's certainly been Sebastian Bourdais who's been the dominant factor. And there is Simon Pagenaud. He's pulling away at the front. We've had 3 full course cautions, and yes, no pit stops left for some guys, and 1 pit stop left, we believe, for some of the drivers. Bill Stevens is now down in the Team Australia pit.
Yes, and I'm with Derek Walker, who may have that answer. Will we see a pit stop pretty soon for Simone?
Yeah, unfortunately, radio communication went down and he missed his stop, so he's a bit out of sequence, not by choice. It was an accident, so yeah, he'll be in soon.
And guys, when you take a look at the top 4 drivers here, they're all international drivers, and the top 3 are from this area of the world, so the fans certainly are getting their money's worth today.
They certainly are, and certainly would be a shame for Simon Pagenaud, but he's been strong this weekend. He set the 4th best lap of the race. Last lap time, only 1 minute 16.7 here. So spots of rain out on the racetrack, and certainly the lap times have fallen away a little bit over the last couple of laps. So we've certainly got to hope there isn't some sort of downpour in the closing stages. That would really liven things up, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, do we have to hope that that doesn't happen? I mean, we don't. They hope that that doesn't happen. These guys right here, including this man, Jan Halen, who, as we've been saying, has kind of just had a bizarre weekend, bit of a difficult weekend, finds himself running in 2nd, although we're fairly certain that's not where he will end up, barring a very long caution period.
Yes, or a lot of rain, which could bring both, actually, could bring a full course caution as well. But there is new green and white colour scheme of the Conquest racing machine of Jan Halen. He's really come on strong these last few races. He stepped into the car, was driven in the first 3 races of the season by Matt Halliday from New Zealand. And then when his deal ran out of funding at that stage, it was Jan Halen who stepped in. He had a very difficult beginning to the campaign. His first 3 races, he did not see the checkered flag. 6-7 results, just getting better and better for Jan Halen. And he's been running very, very strongly indeed. And it all really started out on an upswing with a 10th place finish in Edmonton, then 9th in San Jose, and then a 6th place finish last time out at Road America. So Jan Halen is really beginning now to show his proper paces.
As you can see, Sebastian Bourdais has made quick work of Tristan Gomedy, and now he's putting his head down and he's going after Jan Halen. Now, Jan is about 4 seconds ahead of the battle for, I should say battle, he's ahead of Sebastian Bourdais right now, who's in 3rd position. But like we say, he's probably going to have to stop as is Simon Pagenaud. Unfortunate for him, that miscommunication with his pit wall means that he's really kind of out of sequence and not at all in contention for a decent result here.
Yeah, so it's Pagenaud who leads now by a couple of seconds over Tristan Gomedy. Over Jan Halen, I should say. Tristan Gomedy in 3rd place, about 2.5 seconds. Well, sorry, it's Bourdais now in 3rd place, of course. Gomedy in 4th. That was the last time around where they came across the stripe. That Gomedy was in 3rd. Bruno Junqueira, they're still holding on to 5th place ahead of Graham Rahal and this man, Justin Wilson. And you can see that battle ahead of them now. It's side by side going into the chicane now. It's Tristan Gomedy being overtaken by Bruno Junqueira.
Tristan must have made a mistake or somewhere on that lap, because he was certainly not that close at all. He's gone offline now. Oh, and Justin Wilson, he takes advantage of the situation, gets on the inside of Graham Rahal, catches him off guard. Brilliant heads-up driving. Brilliant
heads-up driving, as you say, from Justin Wilson. He glimpsed that opportunity and he took it with both hands. And it's now Justin Wilson that looms large in the mirrors of Bruno Junqueira to come out of that turn 5 chicane one more time, up the hill again. Oh, sorry, coming out of the final chicane now and down towards turn 1. It's Justin Wilson has to run down the inside line, and he takes over what is now 5th position.
He goes a little bit wide. Does Bruno maybe get him back on the exit? Yes, he does, as does Graham Rahal. Whoa. It's all gone wrong for Justin Wilson. A little bit too quick into the first corner, went wide, and both cars managed to high-low him, as we call it. Sure, from the outside, cut back to the inside, and now Will Power right on the gearbox of the CCW car.
Great racing here in the closing stages. Less than 20 minutes to go in this race. Let's have a replay of what happened here. Coming down the hill, it was Gomedy who I think took Rahal a little bit off guard, and Justin Wilson takes full advantage, dives down the inside. A perfectly clean pass. We'd heard the drivers saying coming into this race, they thought, it's a relatively narrow track here. They didn't think there was going to be a lot of overtaking, but there has been lots of overtaking, hasn't it? Particularly in the last couple of laps.
And Will Power is now got by Justin Wilson. It's all gone wrong. He had such a great move there on Graham Rahal. Watching that replay, I could see how his mind was working as a driver. It was great. It was just such a well-planned move, but then trying to get a little bit too optimistic, I guess, on Bruno Junqueira, a little bit too quick in the first corner, and then he's been thrown off his rhythm, and it's all gone wrong now. He's lost 3 positions in the last lap, so just heartbreaking stuff, but great racing here at Zolder.
Was Justin a little bit too greedy there going down into turn 1, do you think, James?
I don't think he was too greedy to make the move. I just think he Bruno did the right thing. Bruno really pushed him in the corner. He forced him to go deep, and that's a really quick corner. He just went a little bit too wide. So I think he had the momentum. He had to try the move, but I think if he had backed off a little bit, maybe make Bruno hold the outside line, then Bruno may have gone a little bit wide and he could have got the move. Instead, he tried to make it all the way through. So it's a tough call, though. I mean, these are split-second decisions at 160, 170 miles an hour. It is so tough what these guys are doing right now, especially after having already been in the car for an hour and 30 minutes. So this is just, this is when you make your money. This is when it really comes down to it. Close wheel-to-wheel racing in the dying minutes of this race.
That's right, and 750 horsepower cars, and you know, the tyres are relatively hard here from Bridgestone. They're not super grippy tyres. Certainly the drivers are really having a workout to keep these cars on the track, and your brakes are always an issue. You have to look after your brakes as these races progress. So it's as much a mental game as a physical game as well for these drivers. It really is a challenge, but some great racing going on. Here again, a replay as Justin Wilson goes down the inside line, and Bruno Junqueira, as you can see, just left him the room to go down the inside, and then when Justin locks up those brakes just a little bit, slides a little bit wide, and it's not one but two cars go past him. And then of course a couple of corners later, it's Will Power also who makes a move on that CDW car. So it's Pagenaud still who leads by a couple of seconds over Jan Halen, and it's now Sebastian Bourdais who is closing in third place. But we still think the first couple of cars are going to come in to make a pit stop.
And just watching that replay again, Jeremy, I mean, corner one is a fourth gear corner, and at fourth gear, probably 120 miles an hour. These cars generate a ton of downforce, and for Justin Wilson to have been able to lock up his inside brake, he was hitting that brake pedal very, very hard. He went as deep as possible, and actually just ended up being a little bit too deep. So that just showed you how hard he was pushing to get by Bruno Junqueira. He had to make the move just a little bit too much on the entry there. So tough call, but just great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely great stuff. And Simon Pagenaud has just moved up to, last time around, he set the second fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 14.715, and we just saw the Graphy Print car of Jan Halen. He has just been in to make his final pit stop of the day and has fallen from second place down to 13th. So Jan Halen will not be able to take advantage of an interesting strategy there. And here is Simon Pagenaud, our race leader. Just a splash of fuel is all he needs for the Aussie Vineyards machine. He's certainly going to lose him a lot of ground, and in fact he will fall outside the top 10. There go the rest of those guys. Sebastian Bourdais will now move into the lead of the race. Bruno Junqueira into second place. And Tristan Gomondi, he's fallen by the wayside as well. A mechanical problem of some sort for that car number 22, the pay-by-touch car, the Mega Spiera car of BKV Racing. And Tristan Gomondi out of the race, now shown in 15th place, and about to be passed, we believe, by Ryan Diel, who is still running for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team, and actually just set a pretty good lap at a 1 minute 16.0. But it's now the closing stages, and we've got less than 10 minutes to go with Sebastian Bourdais back in the lead. Simon Pagenaud, we believe, came back out on track in around about 12th place. There is Neil Jarni battling for 8th with Robert Dornbos, and it's been all changed, hasn't it, in the last few laps. Here is a replay of Simon Pagenaud having to make that sharp right-hand turn there to bring his car into the pit. Just a splash of fuel is all he needs, enough to get him through about, less than 10 minutes of the race. And that'll be, about 10 gallons worth of fuel went on board that car. That will see him through to the end, but he's dropped outside the top 10. And that's certainly a disappointment from Simon Pagenaud. We heard from Derek Walker a little while ago, he missed the call to come into the pit lane during the previous caution. The good news is he was able to run out front, gain good experience of that, and run some very good laps as well for Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, for sure. It was just about getting a bit of clean air, throwing some laps down at that point. He knew he was not going to be in contention for a good points haul, certainly not a podium or even a top 5. As you say, Jeremy, he's rejoined now in 12th, so unfortunate end to his day, but his countryman, Sebastian Bourdais, there's nothing unfortunate about what's happening here. He is leading by a country mile. He's got a 12.5-second lead over second place Bruno Junqueira, but that is what we really want to watch. The battle for second place. Bruno Junqueira very light on fuel right now. We don't know if he's going to make it. He's got to be saving fuel, but he's holding up very quick guys. Graham Rahal, Will Power, Justin Wilson. This is a great battle for second place.
Yeah, and Gianna Junqueira, who's Bruno's sister, is imploring him over the radio. She is on the radio saying, we need 1.72, 1.72. That's the fuel number. That's the fuel consumption miles per gallon that Bruno needs to get to reach the end of this race and perhaps come away with the best ever finish for Dale Coyne Racing.
And I can't tell you how difficult Bruno's job is right now, as we see some spots of precipitation on the lens there of Graham Rahal's onboard. A few raindrops may be falling. But Bruno right now, I mean, he has faster cars behind him. He's being asked to hit a very specific fuel number, which isn't easy to do on your own. Never mind while under pressure. The tires are wearing out. He's tired. This is like the toughest situation a driver can find himself in, and you've got to give Junkie a lot of credit. He is doing a fantastic job in a very difficult situation.
And you've already talked about how physically demanding it is to drive these cars. Bruno, he of course had that back injury a couple of years ago. He sat out virtually a whole season after getting hurt at Indianapolis, but he takes his training so seriously. He's on his bikes every day. He does triathlons just for fun.
This is really a great day for Bruno Junqueira. I spoke to him before the race today, and if he hopefully can hold on to the spot he has, it will just continue a pattern for him this season. Except for 2 races, he's had a top 10 car all season long, and he is racing for a team that can't compete with the others in the budget department. So you might call him one of the great overachievers of 2007.
I absolutely agree, Bill. This Dale Coyne Racing team has done an excellent job this season. We saw in the very first test back at Sebring, Catherine Legg was the quickest of all in one of the sessions, and Bruno Junqueira, who took the opportunity to drive that car. He was asked, he'd come from Newman Haas Lanigan Racing the last few years, and top teams. He lost his ride with Newman Haas organization, and Dale asked him whether he'd like to do a few laps in the car, and Bruno said, absolutely, I want to be driving in the Champ Car World Series. Any opportunity I can get, I will take, said Bruno. And he said to Dale, yes, please, I'd love to drive your car. And he's just had a great attitude coming into this campaign. And it's a small team, but it's a little team that can, and they've done an excellent job. And as Bill said, they lost their way just for a couple of races. Now, ironically, that was after they'd just done a shaker rig test program on a development test in Toronto at Multimatics organization there, and they kind of lost their way a little bit for a couple of races, but then they got themselves back on track, back to basics with this DP01 car, and Bruno has been among the top 5 really on a very regular basis since then.
He certainly has, and I really like the phrase, the overachiever of 2007. And he came into this season knowing it was going to be a bit of a struggle, and just kind of wanting to help the Dale Coyne Racing team more than anything. He wanted to try and help develop the car and help get that team a bit further up the grid, obviously for his own benefit, but also to genuinely help the team out. And I don't think there's anybody on that team who can say he's done anything but. He's been such an inspiration to those guys, and he's just done remarkable things with this car, and today is just a perfect example of that.
It's been a remarkable comeback since that career-threatening back injury that he suffered.
Life-threatening,
Well, yeah, absolutely right, no doubt about it. And he's worked so hard to get back into the fray. He's worked so hard to keep himself in the Champ Car World Series. He doesn't have a lot of money to bring to a team. He doesn't really have any money to bring to a team. But it's Dale Coyne who grasped that opportunity to hire a driver of Bruno's capabilities. 3 times he's finished runner-up in the Champ Car World Series point standings, and Bruno, he might not be on tap to finish in the top 2 or 3 this year at the end of the year, but he can finish perhaps in the top 2 or 3 this afternoon, and that would be a great day. But look at this, Graham Rahal now is beginning to pile on the pressure, and less than 4 minutes to go. Time is ticking away, not only for Bruno Junqueira, but the time's now running out for Graham Rahal to make that pass, James.
I'm looking at these lap numbers or these pit numbers. I don't know if he's going to make it with 3.5 minutes left. That's at least 3 laps remaining, and unless he's really been getting fantastic fuel mileage, which is possible because he's clearly running a much reduced pace from your leader, Sebastian Bourdais. I mean, he's now 13.4 seconds off the pace, but by my calculations, if at a normal consumption, he's about a lap or 2 off. So this is going to be it. If he's managed to pull this off, this is going to be the drive of the year, Jeremy. I don't care what Sebastian Bourdais has been able to achieve with one of the best cars. Of course, it's been phenomenal, but if he can hit those numbers under this kind of pressure in that car, I will just be absolutely blown away. This is going to be close. I've got my fingers crossed for him. I'd like nothing more than to see him pull this car home on the podium.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy, is Bruno. Just a great passion for the sport, and particularly for the Champ Car World Series. And Bruno is he's 30 years of age now. He lives, of course, in Miami, originally from Belo Horizonte in Brazil. He's made his home in Miami, just loves it down there. He works so hard in his training. and he's just trying as hard as he can to eke that fuel out of this car. He made his final pit stop on lap 48. That was a couple of laps before all these other guys with whom he is racing. But the good news is for him, those couple of laps were under caution.
I had forgotten about that. Just as you were saying it, sprung back to mind that they did run about 4 or 5 laps under caution. You know what? I think that's going to make the difference. Now that I'm doing it all over again, I think he's going to pull it off. And it was those laps of caution that did it for him. So 2 minutes now remaining. It's probably going to, oh man, it's going to be close.
I love it. Yeah, and Dale Coyne, he's a master of strategies. He always, if there's a march to be gained over the other guys, then Dale is going to try and pull it, and he'll have worked out the numbers. He certainly would have been praying for another full course caution in the closing stages. He knows the drivers with these cars and with this 32 gallons of methanol, they could do 19, maybe 20 laps. And Bruno now on lap 69 now.
20th lap.
He's completed, I think, 20 laps now. 2 of those under yellow. Boy, it's going to be close for Bruno, but he is trying, and he is just doing everything he can to keep up the pace through the corners, brake as deep as he can, and try and lift off perhaps a little bit earlier into those braking zones, but without giving this man, Graham Rahal, an opportunity to line up his car and maybe make that pass.
Now we'll have to see. I mean, Sebastian Bourdais is quite a bit ahead. He may have already crossed the start-finish line. I mean, they might have actually already, I don't think they've not thrown the white flag yet, so we've not started the last lap. We'll see, though. We're now just at 1 minute and 5 seconds, so if Bourdais has not yet crossed the line, they might be getting the white flag this time by, which means that Bruno Junqueira nearly has it done.
Yeah, well, you're coming down now into the final corner. The time is certainly taken away.
Final lap.
Yes, well, boy, that is great news. So I think Sebastian Bourdais was just within a few seconds there of being able to complete one more lap, because he doesn't want to go any farther than he has to. He just wants to win the race at the minimum best speed, doesn't he?
Although one more lap may have run Junkie out of fuel and given his teammate Graham Rahal second place, but either way, this is the final lap. This man, Sebastian Bourdais, set to take another victory, but it's all about the battle for second place. Bruno Junqueira, Graham Rahal, Will Power, Justin Wilson, your top 5 on the final lap.
He's been 5 years in the Champ Car World Series. He was Rookie of the Year in his first campaign. He's won 3 titles since then. He's going for his fourth consecutive Champ Car World Series crown is Sebastian Bourdais. This is his 70th start. He's already scored his 30th pole position, now looking at his 29th victory. Just amazing statistics all around for this guy. A couple of weeks ago at Elkhart Lake, he scored his 16th win from the pole. That moved him ahead of Bobby Unser for 3rd on the all-time list, and now he's going to do it again, I believe, as he comes through the final couple of corners. There is Ryan Yellow is still running at the back of the field, but there are the checkered flags, and it's Sebastian Bourdais who comes away with yet another victory, the 29th of his career, the 103rd for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. And let's have a look battle for second place. We want to see whether Bruno Junqueira can hold him off.
He does. He's crossed the line. Bruno Junqueira has held off for a podium position. That's second place for Dale Coyne Racing and Bruno. That is just fantastic stuff. You guys can't see it, but I'm standing up in the booth right now, giving a round of applause, standing ovation. That is just fantastic result.
Yeah, that is awesome for both of you guys. Another exemplary display from this man. Number 1 is Sebastian Bourdais, as he has been so often this season. That is win number 6 in just 11 starts this season for Sebastian Bourdais. But yeah, hats off to Bruno Junqueira. Did he make it? He did make it across the line, didn't he?
He did.
Okay, great, because I didn't see him there in the picture as they came around onto the back straightaway. Look at that jubilation amongst the Newman Haas Lanigan Racing team. There's Claire Bourdais there down there in the pit lane getting a hug from these guys, and they've worked so hard, this entire Newman Haas Lanigan Racing team. We talked about it earlier on. In 5 of the 7 races he's finished this year, they've had the least time in the pit lane. There again, that's Claire Bourdais. Of course, their first baby was born less than a year ago. They're going to be moving back to Europe next year, and there is Sebastian Bourdais receiving the plaudits from this crowd. And once again, this guy is super special. There's Claire. She's a communications major. She was studying at the university in Tampa, St. Pete over the last few years. Now she's got a bit of a busy time with the youngster as well, but it's been a great result once again for Newman Haas Racing, and Sebastian Bourdais who wins the Champ Car Grand Prix of Belgium here at Circuit Zolder. It's been yet another performance. The graphics have gone down here, so we're not going to be able to bring you the full results, but let me run down it for you unofficially. It's Sebastian Bourdais who wins the race, and Bruno Junqueiro comes home in a fantastic second place, a best ever result for Dale Coyne Racing. Graham Rahal brings the second of the Newman House Landing cars home in third, so 2 more podium finishes for this amazing team. By my reckoning, that's the 244th podium finish for Newman House Landing Racing. Let's have a look now at the graphics are back up and running. So let's have a look at the unofficial race results. Bourdais, Junqueiro, Graham Rahal. Will Bow brings his car home in 4th place for Team Australia. He'd be disappointed with that. He was looking to come home certainly with at least a podium. Justin Wilson, an up and down day for him. Aurel Servier comes home with a top 6 finish. Robert Dornbos, he fell down the order. We didn't really see why, I don't think, did we? Neil Jarney comes home with another 10th place finish. And Alex Tagliani and Paul Tracy. And we heard Paul Tracy complaining in the early stages, having problems with the differential on his Forsyth Championship Racing car. And a new technical director come on board at Forsyth Championship Racing, Tom Brown, who was shown the door by PKV Racing. That came out a shock out of the blue after the last race. So Tom Brown doing a good job for Forsyth, brings both cars in the top 10. Catherine Legg finishes in 11th place. Good run for her, certainly in the latter stages of the race. She got back her lap and ran ahead of Simon Pagenaud to the finish. Jan Halen, boy, he'll be disappointed, but it's been a very good weekend for Conquest Racing and the Belgian driver Jan Halen. Alex Figge is shown in 14th place ahead of Ryan Diel. Then the 2 mechanical problems taking out Tristan Gomondi and Mario Dominguez. But it's this man, isn't it? Sebastian Bourdais, the man that we've been talking about him all season long for the last 4 years. And again,
Sebastian.
so there is Sebastian Bourdais. He's won. He's raced 3 times now in the Champ Car in Europe. He's won all 3. Bill Stevens is with our race winner, Sebastian Bourdais.
Happy Sebastian Bourdais. A win on European soil. Your family here, your parents. How special was this, Sebastian?
Well, it's 3 for 3, so yeah, it's going really well. Another pole, another win for the Magnus team. They did a fantastic job again today. It wasn't easy, really, with the different strategies, but the car was awesome, and we made it.
The pass around Bruno Junqueiro was an anxious moment. Take us back.
Yeah, well, Bruno was having to save a lot more fuel than I was, and I knew that, so I know Bruno is very fair, and he used the push to pass and got alongside him, and when he saw me coming, it just didn't close the door, so it was a good race.
It was a good race. Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, Sebastian. But there's Claire there, a victory kiss for her champion, Sebastian. And it's certainly been a great run once again for him. That will extend his lead in the Champ Car World Series point standings. He came into this weekend with a margin of 37 points over Robert Dornbos. Now that lead extended to 53 points. Robert Dornbos still holds on to second place. That big battle there with Robert Dornbos will